Everybody, and welcome to the Pro Crastinators podcast. I'm your host, Digibro, for the evening. I've got my usual suspects, Nate, the best guy ever.
Omedetou, Okasama.
Wait, what? Congratulations, mother. Is that what you said?
Yeah, that's what I said. I'm a Japanese.
I've got Endless Jess with me.
Yeah.
Patreon.com/Ben Saint.
Hello.
And we have a very special guest today, a fellow YouTuber whom all of us sort of became acquainted with and fans of at the same time in the last couple of months, Mr. Mumkey Jones.
Oh, konnichiwa! I can speak Japanese too.
That sounded like a Spanish accent to me.
That was a great snob impression.
Whoa.
We've invited Mumkey aboard. Mumkey said that he told me I'd be most interested in talking about politics or Elliot Rodger, and I thought let's talk about empathy and how so much of the problems in our society are a result of people not understanding one another and just sort of I guess that's really it. Mumkey, I want you to introduce us to this concept sort of as you did in your Elliot Rodger video. You have this 30-minute analysis of why Elliot Rodger did what he did. For those who don't know, Elliot Rodger is the guy who, I don't know.
Elliot Rodger is the supreme gentleman.
Yeah, that's right.
Elliot Rodger is the boy who dared to do what the rest of us were too cowardly to do. You know, you laugh, guy, but he's a beautiful boy with a tortured soul.
I agree. All right, let's move on.
Yeah, Mumkey, explain to us what's the deal with Elliot Rodger?
Okay, so to start off, I think it's important to distinguish the difference between sympathy and empathy, because I think why people are scared to empathize is that they're confusing it with the definition of sympathy. To empathize with somebody is just to be able to put yourself into their position mentally. You're not making a judgment call saying what they did was right or wrong. You're just saying, I can see their point of view. And that's completely different from sympathy, which is where you're putting a judgment call on it. So in the case... Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I'm reminded of what Aristotle said, that the mark of an educated mind is the ability to understand another's perspective without having it yourself.
And that's actually one of the biggest problems we have politically, is that people just want to put out their talking points and not try to understand other people's agendas and all that. But we're not going to get political, I think. So the story with Elliot Rodger...
Feel free. We don't give a fuck on this show.
Bernie, I still love you. I'll never forget.
We've got about 10 minutes before this podcast degenerates like all of them into complete frothing madness, so you can say whatever you want. It doesn't matter.
Okay. So the story of Elliot Rodger, I did an audiobook reading on my channel, Mumkey Jones, and there was a lot of discussion in the comments of people relating to Elliot because he was a very lonely boy growing up. He had trouble making friends. He couldn't interact with the opposite sex at all. He was addicted to World of Warcraft, and it impacted him very much on a social level. So there are people who were expressing in the comments of those videos that they could relate to him on those levels. But the problem is that a lot of them also expressed fear for relating to Elliot Rodger in a public sphere because of the potential judgment that would be cast upon them for even talking about themselves and a murderer in the same sentence. So it's like this fear of empathizing with somebody who did something bad, which that shouldn't be a fear at all, because Elliot Rodger is an example of a person that we should be able to learn from, and when we halt the conversation with this fear, we're not doing anything to prevent the next Elliot Rodger from happening.
I had seen Elliot's videos before I listened to the audiobook, and
Ben considers them a personal education tool.
Okay, like they're obviously very, they're hard to watch, not even just in the context of what they are, but just because you can tell that the guy in them is like, he's putting up this front and he's trying to act cool, and it's sort of embarrassing. It's
cringy in like a conventional sense of the word.
It makes me really cringe, but the reason it makes me cringe is because I can see him being like, I, the supreme gentleman, I am a powerful godlike man. I forget what he said. But hearing him say those things, those are thoughts that I've had, and those are I used to feel like that, like there's been times in my life when I might have said things very similar to that.
I definitely said things, not so much about the Supreme Gentleman, but I legitimately thought I was a god when I was like 17. It's like when I first learned about like spirituality and stuff, and like the idea that like you get from the universe whatever you put into it, I was like, I can control everything. My fate is in my command,
Have you listened to the audiobook?
No, I have not.
Did you know that Elliot became obsessed with that idea and tried to will himself to win the lottery and spend thousands and thousands of dollars?
Did he read The
Trying to
Secret
win
or
the
something?
lottery?
Is that what?
He
Yes,
did read
I
The
was gonna
Secret.
say.
That's the one book he specifically talks about is The Secret.
Oh, God. Ben, remember
'cause-
when Grace came up to us and was like, guys, you have to read The Secret? Well, now I'm glad I didn't, because I would have become a fucking murderer.
There'd be six
Thanks,
people
We
Grace.
need to ban The Secret. The Secret is causing all these mass shootings. We need The Secret control.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, the reason I know that
Every
book,
page is blank except for it says The Secret is kill everybody.
the reason I know that book specifically is that my dad is actually a huge fan of that book. Like, he totally believes in like that, whatever, like if you put good energy into the universe, then good energy will come back to you. And like, to me, I think really The Secret, it's just the exact same thing as religion, which is just, it's
Right.
You can't have confidence in yourself, so you have confidence in something higher than you, even though really all you're doing is just being confident, and that makes things happen for you. Like, that's all you need.
Right,
All
that's
you need
exactly
to do
what
is,
it is.
like, believe that you can get things, and then that will trick you into being able to get things. It has nothing to do with the universe at large. It's just be confident.
And
Well,
you
it's like if you're thinking about something that you say something that you want, if it's on your mind all the time, the inevitable consequence of that is going to be you taking action,
Right.
Relating to it.
You
Right?
know,
so in that way, your thoughts do bring things into existence, but
it's
through
not
through
magical
your action.
or
Yeah.
like some weird spiritual fucking string theory particle effect.
Yeah,
Not
quantum collapse.
not to cast shade on my dad and his beliefs or anything. I just think it's all really goofy to me. Like, I'm just like, you're just a hard worker. That's why you get everything you want,
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, with Elliot Rodger, like, because I think what made his case so famous was that he was literally a 4chaner, right? Like, Mumkey, am I correct on that?
He was definitely on bb.com, the bodybuilding website, and then some other
Oh
website.
my God.
We don't know for sure that he ever posted to 4chan, but there are a lot of speculation about it.
okay.
Right, because I remember when the event happened, like when he shot all those people, I remember 4chan like not shutting up about how he was one of us.
Well, that's
it was
just
like,
because when you watch the
so
videos,
one of us.
he clearly
he
is one of those
he
guys.
talks about how he loved
Yeah.
Pokemon as a kid. He talks about playing World of Warcraft.
yeah.
He is totally one of us.
Well, and also just his beliefs are like very /pol, right? Like he's sort of anti-women.
Well, specifically for women, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
that's kind of his.
So like, when it happened, everyone was kind of like, he's one of us. And to me, it was like, I've got experience watching shows like Welcome to the NHK or like, different stories that make people feel that way, where they're like, this or even Evangelion, where it's like when you look at Shinji Ikari and he kind of reminds you of all the fucked up times of your teenage life, like, I think that's what Elliot Rodger makes people think about, because it is real. It's not like, how do I put it?
He was
not
in
a
real
huge
pain,
leap.
He was in serious agony every part of his day, and it doesn't matter that like he was fed well, he had a house, he had money. None of that touched the higher level of the Maslow's hierarchy that he was completely unable to get anything he needed from.
Isn't that like like a verbatim quote from Mumkey's review?
Yes, it is.
Look, just because I mentioned Maslow's hierarchy doesn't mean I'm fucking. It was a well put. It was well put. All right.
Just because I mentioned the same thing in the same exact context.
That's stupid. What are you talking?
I think it is important to try and have empathy for people like Elliot Rodger, but no matter how much I try, I don't think I can.
Oh,
because
fuck off, dude.
the
Elliot's
more
a
that I
sweet
learn
boy.
about it, no, because I watch his dumb little videos, and I just can't help but think that he's another bitter, pathetic little sociopathic 4chaner piece of shit loser.
Yeah, just
who was
like me,
bound to do
dude.
this
Just like
eventually.
me.
Well, I don't
and who I really have empathy for is all the people in his life who had to deal with him for 22 years before he finally went off the deep
Well,
end.
I think
you
what
know
you're
he
just-
should have killed people and killed himself.
But
sooner.
here's just-
It would have been
Jess,
a worthy
if I can
sacrifice to get
interrupt
him
you
off the
real
face of the
quick,
planet.
Jess.
Please do.
That kind of relates to what I said at the very beginning, the difference between empathy and sympathy. Empathy is a skill where you are able to mentally put yourself into his position. Sympathy, I think, is what you're talking about, where you feel sorry for
Oh, no,
people.
I'm the best at empathy. Don't get
Okay.
me wrong. I can empathize with anyone in the world. You know, I do empathize with him in one way, and that is the desire to commit violence and kill a lot of people. That's one thing that I can deeply empathize with, and I think about every single day of my life. In that aspect, that's a way in which he is a perfect human being who was right.
You know,
And
I feel I feel very much like one of the people commenting on Mumkey's videos, and just the people who are. I'm a big 4chaner myself. When I watch Mumkey's video and just hear all the things read through Elliot's book, I feel a massive correlation with my life and the experiences I've had, not being able to get the things I want, the frustration, the way, just the way that things feel like they've tilted. Like it used to be you could just grab a bitch, drag her back to your cave, rape her. That was the best. We need to go back to those days. But, I wish Elliot had lived to see the last episode of Steven Universe, because he really just needs to take a moment. I'm serious, because the problem was.
Oh, you mean the most recent episode?
Yeah, the problem with Elliot was that, and a lot of us do this too. We focus.
Mindful education.
That's right, mindful education. We focus too much. We obsess over the things that have gone wrong in our lives that aren't going the way we want them. And we can get, and I'm not really saying that just trying to think differently would immediately correct the problem, but it's a matter of perspective. And if you can, change your attitude about, just like if Elliot had focused on being proactive about doing stuff, and of course, yes, that's his whole problem. He couldn't be. He was kind of, damaged in however way to be like this. If he had just a slightly different perspective, he could have done things differently.
Yeah.
I feel for him so bad because he didn't deserve what happened.
Elliot's observations about men and women are not they're not necessarily wrong all the time. It's just that he lacked perspective on them.
Right.
I think so.
That reminds me of the time that I solved the gun control debate and didn't tell anybody.
Please.
Because I figured out the answer and I realized the world was too stupid to hear it and no one would listen.
Are you gonna tell it to us, or
I'm ready.
Are you gonna keep
Yeah,
it?
yeah, sure. I'll tell you.
No, keep it. Keep the secret. I don't
are
want
we-
gun control solved.
This is the secret volume 2 right now. Okay, let's hear it. What's the secret?
Well, so the way to prevent another Elliot Rodger type of mass shooting is 2 steps. Step 1 is sex education, and step 2 is autism genocide.
Can I touch it?
We'd all be dead!
It's
Yeah, we're all on the
dude. We're all on the
spectrum, dude.
spectrum.
We're all on the fucking spectrum.
dooming us.
I really don't believe that.
I
That all
believe
on the
that. I
spectrum thing.
completely
I think
believe
that's
that.
complete bullshit.
Okay,
You think
well,
the
For
That's
I
like
don't
that's
know.
You
like
think the
saying we're all
autistic
on the broken
spectrum is
leg
bullshit?
spectrum. Well, what if I don't
Hang
have
on,
a
wait,
fucking
Mumkey,
broken leg?
what are you saying?
You think the autistic spectrum is bullshit?
no.
I think that the idea that everyone is on it is
for the
bullshit.
record, Jesse, we're all on the spectrum is literally a joke catchphrase I made up. That's just something
I
no,
think I've
it's
heard
not
it.
a
I've
joke
heard
because
it.
it's true. We are
No.
everyone
I've
display
heard people-
everybody
I've heard
displays
people say that,
behaviors
though.
that categorize autism. Everybody
the
does
thing.
it.
Yeah, that's the thing.
everyone displays. It's kind of like saying we're all on the death spectrum. Yes, it's true, but unless
boy,
you're
are
Alright,
we?
you know,
But,
okay, hang
but
on.
you don't describe someone as that cheeky joke people say when someone's like, "I'm dying," and someone's like, "Oh, well, you're always dying." It's like, yeah, but
Yeah.
fuck off. That guy's dying.
Okay,
you
okay,
know?
but seriously,
that's sort of the difference.
remember-
yeah, we're all on the spectrum, but some people are autistic.
Here's
and
the
there's
thing.
a difference.
Here's the thing I did
just-
years
look,
ago.
I
Lines
just-
in the sand. It's all just lines in the
Right,
sand.
hang on. Okay, because remember, Jesse, years ago when you made your Mod Pie video and I did all this massive amount of research just desperately trying to debunk the fact that Mod Pie from My Little Pony was in fact autistic.
And you
I-
couldn't
well,
because I
okay,
was
look,
right.
The point is, I did the actual research involved. I read the actual American Standard Psychology, whatever it is, DSL-3 or whatever, to look at the traits And all it is a list of exemplified traits or exerted traits of the individual. So, like, if you have trouble talking to people,
it's a list of traits of an annoying asshole. And when someone has a lot of those traits, we used to call them an annoying asshole.
But the thing is,
but now the
everyone does
psychological
these.
community has decided to call it autistic and treat it like an illness, when really it's just being an annoying asshole.
I agree.
We should take those
agree.
people and we should put them in jail. We should put them in some kind of
I
concentration camp
agree that
somewhere.
the term is basically useless,
For
and I
the good of
don't like
humanity.
it. But I'm just saying that the problem is the words that we're using to describe it. I mean, I don't even know why we're talking about this right now. We're just having a fucking word debate.
I want to go on
We're
about
trying
that.
to
I had a
empathize
point, but
with
it got
autism.
derailed.
Wait, let me touch on the first thing you said on how to prevent these kinds of things, Jesse. Sex education. You're close there.
You need-
But
No,
what we
Wait,
actually need instead of sex education, we have sex education. What we need is dating education.
Right.
As
That's
laid
what I was
out-
gonna
the
say.
process
No,
we're told. No, let me finish. As laid out in fucking.
Let me finish!
No,
you can't
me
just
first.
interrupt me before I get a chance to elaborate.
As laid
and
out,
tell me I was wrong.
As laid out by Christian Weston Chandler in the pages of Sonichu, wherein he details.
Yeah.
He
You
details
want to
a
make this
specific.
joke so badly that you have to make Jesse fucking lose his shit.
Is that Chris
Just so
Chan
you
we're
can get
talking
to your
about?
He
Chris
details
Chan
the
joke.
plan
Listen.
for how we need to give Sonichus a dating education so they can learn to fucking flirt with each other
He
and have
planned it,
sex
man.
by the third date. Okay, I'm sorry, Jesse. I sincerely apologize.
God damn it. And if we took people like Chris Chan and put them in a special place with Lego blocks and fucking where they could be amongst themselves and learn to socialize with people of their own kind, then we could maybe reintroduce them to society one day.
I agree with that. I agree
Send
with that
them all
because one
to
of
a
the biggest
fucking-
problems
to a
with Chris
sperm
is that he
farm.
was never institutionalized or given special education.
Right.
But if the
Never
problem
given
you're
special
trying to
education of any
solve is
kind?
gun control, so your solution to gun control is sex education and autism destruction.
Well, no, it's because it's going back to what you said in your video, where, like, the debate is always between ban guns or get more mental health treatment, and the true answer is that none of those are really going to be effective because you just can't. You're always going to have people like Elliot.
Which
But
was kind of
my
Monkey's
thing
point.
is
you
that
can't do much about it.
Yeah,
you know?
but what I'm saying is, like, look at the specific case of Elliot or people like Elliot. Elliot hated women because he didn't understand women and he didn't know how to get laid. And because sex education is such a fucking joke, no one teaches you those things. If you go to, like, the Red Pill subreddit and see, like, how bitter most of the
I
people
do.
on there are.
Yeah.
Everybody on the Red Pill, like, I used to go there a long time ago, but eventually
yesterday?
but eventually, you go there where everyone's mad there because everyone on there is a beginner. They're all angry young men
Yeah,
who don't
yeah.
understand this shit. And when they
Yeah.
finally figure it out, they stop going on there.
Like,
That's why it
what
seems
kind
like
of a
everyone on
sexy
there
man who
Yeah,
could
yeah.
be
is a
having
crazy
sex
misogynist.
with women would be going on a forum for beginning
Yeah.
how to get women, you know? It's
Yeah,
If you're there, it means you have a problem.
Right.
Yeah, so what we just gotta do is, when we see a fucking kid who is a retarded weirdo who can't get with women, we gotta fucking slap him around a bit and say,
Yeah.
this is how you fucking talk to women, this is how you be a functioning person, stop being an autist, and then he won't end up
I'm
killing
a big
people.
believer in corporal punishment. I think it needs to have a strong place in society. There needs to be physical ramifications for being annoying, being dumb, and wasting my time.
I want to get into all this because I've, by virtue of my career, I've met a lot of autistic people, especially back,
excluded, of course.
well, very especially because aside from Mumkey, the rest of us come from the My Little Pony community.
Oh no!
Which is
You unzip me, Digi! You unzip me!
which is overrun with autism.
Almost 100%.
The world was so close to forgetting that. You had to bring it all back.
Bringing back flashbacks.
Well, that's the thing, right? Like, it seems like when you
PTSD
hear
right
that,
now.
it seems like obvious, right? Like, people would joke about that, like, hey, MLP fans, probably a bunch of autists. But, like,
Yeah.
For those of us
Yeah.
who just really...
They think it's a joke, but they don't really
Right,
understand.
it's actually true, because, like, the
Yeah.
kind of show that it is attracts... like that kind of crowd because it's something that's childish and easy to understand, easy to empathize with. The characters have big expressive faces. This is also why there's so many autistic anime fans. And there's been studies done about this, like real professional studies about the correlation between autism and like cartoons and anime. Yeah, specifically.
Well, yeah.
Because
I did my master's thesis on the correlation between autism and anime.
dude, having known cider for 3 years, that is
Wait,
not even slightly surprising.
Weren't you
that
like
would
a
be
math major?
No, I'm
That
just
was
kidding.
your
I'm just
thesis?
kidding. It was just wishful thinking.
No. Anyway, the studies that have been done on it are that basically because anime characters, their faces are extremely expressive. You can instantly get what they're thinking in a way that you can't with real people. So it makes it a lot easier for like autistic people to connect with those characters because they can kind of get what they're thinking more easily. And anime characters are usually pretty straightforward, and and they spell out sort of their personalities. And MLP was like that too. But as a result of spending so much time with autistic people, I've come to realize that just like everyone else, autism has nothing to do with whether they're a good or bad person. Because I've met there's plenty of people with Asperger's and autism who I've met who are really cool. They're not as easy to communicate with in terms of like, understanding some jokes or something like that, or just being able to socialize. But some of the autistic people I know are amazingly creative, like make awesome stuff, are cool people. I've posited that I think Hideaki Anno, who made Eva, is definitely somewhat spurgy, but he clearly knows how to channel that into something great and make art. And then I've also known a lot of autistic people who are fucking intolerable. And invariably, what I've come to realize is that it's because of how they were raised, just like everyone else. My cousin Evan, who is extremely autistic, he's like, to the extent that he doesn't even remotely understand how to be not a rude piece of shit all the time. Like, he was mostly raised by his mom, like, by herself. And his mom's a fucking crazy person. She's a total bitch, and she's high, like, 24/7. And, like, she has, like, a victim complex about the fact that he's autistic. Like, she thinks it's because of vaccines, and so she's just, like,
God.
always, woe is me,
Oh,
my
dear.
son was poisoned by the government, and that's why I've been saddled with this autistic son, And, like,
Oh,
as
God.
That's intense.
as I watch them live together, because they've lived with, both my family's lived with them and they've lived with us because they're fucking dirt poor, because she can't fucking hold a job because she's crazy, And like, I'm not surprised that Evan came out the way he is when that's who raised him, because she taught him to see himself as a victim. She taught him to see himself as an autistic kid who's not normal, who no one can relate to. And so he doesn't even understand the idea of like communicating with people. Whereas I've known other autistic people who are extremely self-aware about their autism and like trying to control it and trying to understand people, and they're great.
That is why it frustrates me. The overdiagnosis problem we got going on, where more and more people are autistic, but the question is there actually more autism, or is autism just more
or
diagnosed?
Is it even a problem? Is this a,
and it frustrates me, because in past eras, or maybe in other cultures, people would maybe see someone who we in America or in the psychological community would label as autistic and consider, they have a mental disability, whereas in other societies they might say, oh, well, they just have these quirks and they just behave in this unusual way.
Yeah,
Like,
you're exactly
okay,
right. That goes back to what Jess
yeah.
is saying. Back in the day, they would just call that person a stupid asshole, but now we understand the advanced science of, no, it's actually a mental disorder.
But isn't it healthier to call that person a stupid asshole?
yeah,
Wouldn't it be better for them in the long run?
absolutely,
Because it makes
I agree.
them learn.
Monkey, it's like tomato, right? Like, is it a mental disorder or is it just a quirk? I mean, does it really make a difference what we call it?
It totally matters, because it's about how you treat that person and how they're integrated into society. That's where the rubber meets the road.
I think that there, like Jesse said, there's some a healthy angle in being like, hey, because I think when we tell people, when we diagnose people, and like we give them that sort of easy answer, it doesn't teach them that what they're doing is wrong. It teaches them that they're a victim. It teaches them that you've got autism, therefore you're like, it's kind of like an excuse that people can use. And it's like, it's no excuse. You still should be constantly trying to better yourself just like everyone else. You might have more of a lower ceiling for what you're capable of, mentally, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't be trying to reach that ceiling. And if there are autistic people who can do good things, then that means we should be trying to get every autistic person to a point where they can do good things. Not saying you're autistic, so fuck you. You're just, you know what? You have no opportunities, so just try to live. Try your best.
It's kind of a silly example, but just to illustrate the point, like Forrest Gump, was a retard, but he did a lot of cool stuff. And that's just to say that, like, your life doesn't have to be defined by your limitations. You know, you can do all kinds of crazy shit. You know, it's a good.
I mean,
it's a good message.
it's amazing to me how often I will see or hear like old people, like, you know, people in their either from their 40s up to their 70s and stuff, and I'll hear them say things or act in ways that I'm like, this person is clearly autistic, but is of an era where that wasn't a thing, where like people didn't call them that, and they've somehow lived this long. Like, you know, because like Jesse said, it used to be you were just considered a stupid asshole, but stupid assholes were still expected to get jobs. Stupid assholes were still expected to like, you know, to find a way to survive in society. So like clearly historically, autistic people were able to function well enough to live. You know,
so
like,
you think the problem is now that we're aware of autism as a disorder, now we're coddling these people and we're making a whole new generation of victims? Is that the problem?
And perhaps, to compound that, perhaps there's an additional problem of the fact that we've gotten so comfortable with sort of the marketing machine of like showing us perfect people all the time, so we're less used to these people with, you know, weird quirks, or we don't really meet them as much, you know?
And that's why it all comes back to my autism holocaust idea, because once word gets around that autists are getting sent off to camps, then autistic people will try their damnedest to not seem autistic, and the problem will be solved forever.
Genius.
My God,
I'm just afraid, Jesse. I'm just afraid that I'll be caught up in that first wave.
I've known Ben a long time, and I'm worried about him. I'm worried about this plan.
He knows what he's talking about.
That's always been that's why I have I've described my political views as the Aberdolf-Linkler policy, where like on the one hand I really think in like this authoritative way that like, hey, if we just like controlled everyone, we could make a perfect society. However, I would not fit into that perfect society at all, so I'd be fucking myself. So we have to be free and liberal and like go against that.
I do want to play off of. Go ahead.
No,
Mumkey, you go.
I wanted to play off of Jess's idea of the concentration camp thing, because Elliot Rodger, that was actually his solution for women in the final 7 pages of the book.
Oh, really?
Was that there would be a society where it's only men. Men don't even know that women exist. All the women are in camps, and the attractive ones are artificially inseminated so that we can create new men. And that was Elliot's idea of a perfect
his
society.
solution wasn't to give men women. It was just to remove them entirely.
Exactly.
So there was no. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You know, that's really interesting.
That's a really weird idea for someone who's
makes
like...
I think it shows a lot about
sense.
him.
It makes perfect sense because the competition for women is what brings out the bestial side of men.
And for him,
without that temptation, they have nothing to hurt each other and treat each other unfairly over.
I mean, every comedian makes the joke that men wouldn't do anything if we weren't trying to impress women.
I don't agree with that,
Exactly.
but also, if you remove the competition for women, that was the competition Elliot was losing his whole life. If you just remove that, then his standing, like,
I'm just
of his
fascinated
self-worth
that's
goes
like
way up.
what he got out of it was not... I need to like it was less important to him that he could actually hook up with a woman than that he could prove that he could or something.
It was all about his self-worth, you know. That's really what it came down to.
In his mind, women
like any guy
and
could
sex
just jack
were
off,
evil.
you know. We can do it, but sorry, go on.
What was that? You cut out.
In Elliot's mind, women and sex were evil and that they needed to be exterminated from society.
Right, but I think that clearly comes from a place of, I mean, I don't want to say sour grapes, but like if he had easy access to it and was a confident guy, I suspect his attitude would have been different. You know, obviously.
I think that's a safe assumption.
Yeah.
So
I mean, to him it was like women. Okay, because women have the power to choose which men to sleep with, and to him they always chose wrong because they weren't choosing him.
Yeah.
So they were all evil because
they chose the most brutal of men. He would say.
Yeah.
You know, so to expand this beyond just autism and stuff, and just into greater empathy, like the way I sort of see society, I find everybody very easy to empathize with. Not usually easy to sympathize with at all, but very easy to empathize with. And the reason is that I have a sort of, and Nate, I know you agree with me on this, a very deterministic viewpoint when it comes to the world. That the reason...
I'm looking for a reason to not believe this deterministic, but I've yet to find one. So
well, the way that people are is pretty much always a result of what they have been, right? Like
Yeah,
what they've
right.
gone through. You're born with a certain kind of temperament, certain genes, like you have a certain nature, but then you are also nurtured
like a
into
Pokemon. You might be
Exactly
born.
like a Pokemon.
Yes.
You might be born
now
with
I get it. Now I understand. You're born.
God.
You
If
come into this
only
world.
Elliot had known about the hidden stats.
If only he'd known. If only he'd known.
IVs.
Elliot was thinking of everything in terms of the IVs, but he forgot all about the EVs. 'Cause that's what it's. Yeah.
no.
You come into this world as a little goddamn
Chimchar.
a chimchar, and you sassy, but even a sassy chimchar can still learn flamethrower. You know.
Whoa,
You guys-
whoa, whoa, whoa,
You know
whoa.
what I'm
Sassy
fucking saying
Chimchar,
here?
that's a stereotype.
Yeah.
So anyways, yeah, we all are kind of the result of our upbringing,
Autism.
and I think the biggest problem that I see,
Our autism upbringing.
the biggest problem I see
Product
in
of our
society
autism.
is no one seems
That's
to.
the,
God
that's the
fucking
real
damn it!
Yes, won't let him
Society is
Stop
autistic,
giggling about
not
autism.
the people.
I feel
5
like you're an
seconds.
animal right now.
I know it's a very tall order to stop thinking about autism, but let me. Okay.
What if Jesse had found the Death Note? It would
no!
have just been like this.
The
this
world would be gone. There'd be
This
no
world
one left.
This world is too autistic.
Jesse would have used it immediately too.
Yeah,
Like as
it's
soon
true.
as he found out what it could do, he would. I have no doubt that Jesse would have killed like everybody.
I
with
never
the
would have
Death
done a
Note.
face reveal video.
That's good plan.
Anyways, God, you guys fucking.
I would
distracted
kill
me
everyone
so
but
hard.
Mumkey.
But Mum, that's nice. That's nice.
So
The only person worth living.
So one of the things that bothers me the most in the world is when I'm in a room full of people who aren't me and we're watching a television on the news. And invariably, if something bad happens, then like people will always be like, that person's a monster, or like,
Oh, yeah,
wow, what
yeah.
what a piece of shit. Like I don't know where people like that come from. How could you do something like that? And I'm like, it's not that hard to understand these people. It's not hard. Like an ISIS killer or something. Like all you got to do is put yourself in their shoes and you can immediately get why they would do the thing that they did, right? Like they're an uneducated, probably young person who comes from a shithole country and who's been taught their whole life that the people from this other country are the cause of their problems,
ISIS
right?
is fairly educated. I mean, depending on who's in it.
What?
No, like the people who
yeah.
leave from the West and go join, they're usually pretty.
Well, okay, yeah, but those are not the majority
all right,
of
all right.
ISIS
Well,
members.
I mean, I don't mean to say
the majority of ISIS members are bumpkins from around, those countries that
That's
get picked up
probably-
locally.
like
True,
just
okay.
most terrorists are people who have been taught that like
Right,
the problems in their lives and their society come from this other society, and if that they can destroy it, then they'll be rewarded for it, right?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
pretty easy to understand and empathize with. Like I totally get why if you were in that
Wow.
situation, you would
wow,
do that.
Digi, you're making this whole ISIS thing sound pretty good,
Right.
honestly.
Well, like I've even heard from people who don't even really understand psychology that much. Like if you actually watch ISIS recruitment videos, it's really easy to understand why this works on people.
Yeah.
Because the ISIS recruitment videos make America look like fucking monsters,
You
and I
know
mean
what's interesting,
deservedly
though?
so a lot of the time. It's like
I've been-
they killed our families and they fly drones around and they kill our young, and if you destroy them, then you'll make the world better. And it's like that's hard to argue with.
And you know what else is
like-
interesting? I've been watching podcasts by this guy Sam Harris, who's a philosopher and writes a lot of books about stuff. He's one of the 4 horsemen of atheism, but that doesn't matter. He just he talks a lot about how
It sounds
people.
like someone Elliot Rodgers would have been a fan of.
Well, hence
Sounds like a
hence
great
my
band.
interest as well. Well, it's just he talks a lot about how people, specifically about ISIS, how people do not get why ISIS would do what they do, or rather, they always rationalize it one way as like, oh, they're doing it for socio-economic issues, like America bombed Syria or whatever, and so the guy joined ISIS or whatever. Despite the fact that like ISIS consistently all the time puts out propaganda saying, join us, like we are going to give you, like we're returning to this form of life where like, men are exalted or whatever, women are like subservient, and like if you die, you go to wherever, and you get virgins or whatever it is. It's like people don't understand that the propaganda is true, and they're really quick to try to make things conform to like how they would react in a situation. Like, this must be a socioeconomic thing.
It's
There's
a lack
no way
of
it's
empathy.
religious.
We're trying to look at
yeah.
everything from what would inspire us from
That's
a
right.
Western
That's what I'm
perspective.
saying.
Like, well, all I care about is money, so obviously it must be a money issue. And I hear that a lot too. Like, because average people, because they don't understand psychology, which if you asked me, like, how would I fix society? Everyone has to be educated in psychology. Because as soon as you understand psychology, everything else, everything bullshit in society totally breaks down because it all just makes so much sense. Like religion, when you understand psychologically why people go to religion, then it... Like,
well,
I don't know if I buy this, did you? I think psychology is just...
That's because your name's
psychology
fucking
is all-
Saint. You have a bias in this one.
Ben was a psychology
true,
major,
though.
right, Ben?
What?
You were
You're
a
no.
psychology
a
major.
psychiatrist?
It was philosophy. It was philosophy. Our
You
dad.
fucking idiot, Nate. How dare you?
What? They're
How
the
dare
same
you
thing,
suggest
and you
that I
know
would
it.
study psychology?
They're the same thing.
Yeah, yes, our dad is a psychologist, and that's fine.
That's right.
Yes,
But psychology is reactive to, people, right? Like, what psychology is just categorizing behaviors, right? Like, psychology does not explain behavior. Psychology is like a catalog of behaviors and theorizing about behavior.
I think
like
if
just because you study psychology does not give you like great insight into people, right? Like psychology
I don't
is
know.
the accum.
I don't-
You
help.
it's like the knowledge we have of psychology was gained through an understanding of people.
Right, I think-
the understanding goes the other way.
I think when you look at
Does that make
someone-
any fucking sense? Am I talking crazy here?
You're talking crazy. I don't get it. But
Okay,
like I
okay.
think the way, I mean, if you look at someone and you can understand where they're coming from, is that not psychology? Is that not what profiling is? Like looking at someone and figuring out why they're acting the way that they are, that's what psychology is, right? And like
Yeah.
If you can-
I guess by comparing them to similar cases, you can come to some kind of
right.
greater understanding.
Well, like I'm saying that if you understand, like, okay, people who are religious, they don't know why they are religious. Like
Well,
they,
some of
they
them. To be
the
fair,
way
some
they
are,
understand it is like, oh, if I believe in God, I'll be rewarded in this and this way.
Mm-hmm.
And from a psychological standpoint, like the reason people gravitate towards something like that is that it sort of gives them an easy thing to cling to. Like they don't have
Yes,
to rely
yes.
on themselves, they can rely on this higher power that's communicating with them. But once you understand that as like a psychological principle, then it's like, oh, okay, religion's obviously bullshit because the only reason it exists is so that we can trick ourselves into feeling happy about something.
Yeah,
Like that's
yeah.
the only reason it's
I don't
there.
know. I mean, you say that, but then there are plenty of religious psychologists out there.
Well, Digi's only point
Not
is that
everyone
we
who's a
can gain
psychologist
insight.
is smart. Like
Oh, what? Oh, come on. That's so dismissive. I don't know.
Well,
I don't like
think,
that whole.
I
Ben,
think
why don't you
it's-
just go
attitude.
I think
love
it's very
Jesus,
possible
Mr.
to.
Saint.
It's kind of like there's a lot of scientists who are also religious. Like it's because
Yeah.
they're just not making like that mental leap, kind of. You
Well,
know.
here's the
That
thing,
is
Digi.
why don't you have some empathy? Okay, why do you be like anyone who's religious? Look, I'm not religious,
Look-
but I think it's unfair to be like anyone who is religious just has failed to connect the dots in the way that I have.
Oh God, whatever. Mumkey was saying something.
Yeah,
Mumkey.
Digi, I agree with what you're saying, but I think one stipulation I'd put on your argument is that you're sort of, the way you're talking about it, it's like people choose to go to religion because of these rewards, but that's not true. 95% of people are born into religion, and then it's taught to them from the very youngest ages. I don't want to use the word brainwash because that is dismissive, but that's pretty much what it is. You're taught this, and you're told this is the truth no matter what. Very few people choose to go to religion.
But that's why I think, and that's the thing. What I'm sort of getting at here is that I don't think anybody really chooses who they become. Like, I don't really believe that we have a lot of choice in our lives. Like, you can gain,
I agree with you on
gain
that.
more choices the more self-aware you become, and the more you understand the world around you. It opens up more opportunities. But to get to that point, you have to be lucky. Like, if you're, my dad, who I don't want to like slam him too much because he's a very good person, I think, and
He's a
he
digi
has
dad.
My dad
True.
is very sympathetic towards people who are
Mr. Bro.
My dad's very sympathetic to like weaker people and like good people, but he doesn't have a lot of sympathy for like people who are, who he sees as could have made different decisions. And I don't really believe in that. I don't believe that everyone can make a different decision. And one of the things my dad often says is like, libraries are free. Everyone should be able to go, like, if you want to better your life, just go read about how to better your life. And I'm like, yeah, but see, you know that. But a lot of people just don't know that. Like, if you never are told, hey, if you read books, it will make you successful, then you will never
Libraries
think to go
are
do
bullshit.
that.
Well,
They never
even
let
if
you
you're-
on the
even if you're
internet. They never
told
let
that.
you use the computer. They make you sign up for shit. They make you give them a bunch of information that
Right.
a poor person can't
That's kinda
possibly
true.
have.
It's kinda true.
Like, even if you're told that you can, like, better yourself through education, you don't really get it until you actually go and do it.
Exactly. So, like, the way I see it, it's all luck. Like, cause someone, the guy who, like some teenage gangbanger who like joins a gang and fucking ends up killing a bunch of people and then getting shot. Like, that guy probably never understood the value of education because no one taught it to him because he just didn't grow up in that environment. Like, you have to already have an in if you want to get to where, to even
like,
where any
I
of
was-
us is,
I was raised in a family where graduating high school and going to college were just expected. Like there
Right.
was
You
no
know, right.
even consideration that I would do anything else.
Digi,
and I guess that worked out pretty well.
I know we don't really want to get into this, but I just find it interesting that you're looking at it from this perspective because we definitely have a different viewing on this topic because I think that you have exactly 0 choices in your life because the only thing that determines what you're going to do is the physical forces of the universe on the cells of your body, and that consciousness is an illusion and thought doesn't actually exist.
I'm more or less with you. Like, I don't think, like, when people talk about choice in the way of like, I could have done this instead of doing that, I don't really believe in that because I think that.
But what is the
every-
scale of choice we're talking about? Because you make choices every
Anything.
day.
Well,
Everything.
do you
I don't
though?
know what the
Do
fuck
you?
anyone
I
is
mean, I had the
talking about
choice to,
anymore. I'm
come on
so
this
lost.
podcast, but I could have said, fuck Digibro, he's not my bro, and I
but-
could have left.
Okay,
but the
wait.
kind
Let
of-
me do this. Let me go through an exercise real quick. Okay,
Okay.
because what was your life? This is something I learned from Sam Harris. So today, as you were getting ready to do this, like what were the choices going through your mind as you decided whether or not to do this podcast? Like in your brain for the things that you were planning.
So
to
I can
do,
either do the podcast, I can jerk off, or I can take a nap. Those are my 3 choices.
But
What
okay,
are the
but
odds
did
you would
really,
have done the other 2 things? Like, do you
Well,
really
that's
think
the
you
thing.
made
The
a
thing is-
meaningful choice?
That's the.
Or you could have applied yourself and killed 5 people.
6 people.
six people and injured 14.
Yeah.
I hope I'm
And
remembering
then
that.
it's 7
correctly.
if he counts himself.
What
yeah.
what kind of weaponry did he use anyway?
He had 2 handguns.
Is that 2 handguns? All right, pretty good for handguns.
Whoa, so he was like going around like a John Woo movie,
Yeah.
or like with 2
he
handguns
was.
in slow motion. Now he's sounding even
No, he was
cooler.
in his BMW or his the car the whole time. He was just driving around.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh God, I relate to
The
him.
Boondock
I
Saints
drive a
3,
BMW.
Supreme
I'm just
Every
like
day,
Elliot
Digi.
Rodger.
Every day, you're more like him.
You know what's worse?
You shaved, Digi. Now you look just like him too.
no.
Not only
Digi looks in the mirror and slowly comes into focus, and his face is Elliot.
not
My
only
God,
do I drive a
That's the problem. Success. The richer Digi gets, the closer
But
he gets.
can we go back to what
becoming
Nate was
the
saying?
supreme
Because I think I
gentleman.
threw off his
Yeah.
thing.
Oh well, I was just saying that if you really examine kind of the mental pathways that you're following, you'll find that it's not like you really made a mental list for yourself of like, okay, I could do A, B, or C choices. It's really more like your brain is populated by your memories or your understanding of what's going on, which is kind of like your RAM. And then the first one that hits, that's the one you end up
Can you
doing.
connect this to Pokemon in any way?
Yes.
Yeah, which stat does this tie into?
Okay, fuck. I mean, I don't want to say which starter because like that
All right,
looks
well,
like
let's
there's
say,
a choice.
Let's
It
say
doesn't
you
matter.
choose.
It's,
Let's say you were going to make the choice between Pokemon Red or Pokemon Blue.
Okay.
Right?
yeah, okay.
Like, the kind of person you are is going to determine which game you buy. Is your favorite color red or blue? You'll probably pick that one. Or is one of them more popular than the other? You might pick the one that's less popular because you want. That's the kind of thing I would do.
And the forces that you feel in your brain that you, I mean, this is my perspective. The
I
forces
don't
that you
really see
feel
it
that
as-
are a choice are actually just kind of your CPU processing the information,
Right.
And then it
Yeah.
spits out an answer. Like
It's-
that's my opinion.
It's really just that you don't have control over your own thinking or your own like mental workings, right? Like, you don't control your brain. You
Right,
just are
right.
your brain, and whatever it does is what you do.
And by the way, Mumkey, how old are you again? Are you 21?
21.
20. All right, that's cool. Just wondering.
I don't know why you had to ask that in such a
I
weird
was-
way.
I was curious
He
because
wants
I'm
to know if I'm
26 and I
legal
wanted
because
to know
we're
he's
meeting up
young.
after the show.
That's right. That's
Oh
right.
my god.
I'm gonna.
But yeah,
have sex.
so like because of the way, to get way the fuck back to a point I was making earlier, like when I see people saying stuff like that
I'm
about
interested
like
in Mumkey's
ISIS
response,
or
by the way.
killers and stuff like that, whenever someone's like, "Wow, like what a monster," I'm like, but you get it, right? Like, surely you can understand where that person's coming from, and if we could do that, then we'd have such an easier time of like of fixing those things. And I think the real reason that we can't is that you'd have to create an objective standard, and you can't do that because everyone sees the world differently. And like, I think maybe this is true of every culture, but certainly here in America, we are very self-righteous and self-important
Yeah,
about
we want
our
revenge
view
for
of the
shit,
world.
too.
Like we see it as like everyone who doesn't feel exactly how we feel is wrong. But we're outnumbered. Like, there's way more people in China who believe that what they're doing is right, and we're not going to convince them to join our side. So trying to set up that kind of objective standard is virtually impossible. And even within one society, like what I want the world to become doesn't match what my next door neighbor wants the world to become. And that's sort of the problem. But I think that if everyone understood psychology and we were all able to like figure out why we're thinking the things we're thinking, then it would help us to break down like all the differences between us, because we could say, well, the reason those people believe that is that it fulfills them in these psychological ways. And if they understand that, then maybe they can figure out what would be the most beneficial way of thinking for them. And then the result of all this is that we end up with the civil system from psychopaths, and it turns out to be evil. And
Yeah, it's tough to say what really the best solution
And
is.
in the far future, right, when we're living in the dystopian, I don't know if it's dystopian, we're living in the far future, and the civil system has taken over, and all documents from the modern day have been destroyed, and someone finds Digi's review or Digi's analysis of psychopaths, and it becomes like a blueprint to how to take down their corrupt society.
well, my analysis of psychopaths was that I thought the system was great. And that's why my original review was
so it
super
becomes like-
controversial, because
So it becomes
people-
like their holy texts. It becomes
Yeah.
like the pillar of their society.
I think one of the most controversial things I've ever said, like, was that I think the civil system is a good idea, and like, because it's a completely authoritative system and it goes against everything
Yeah,
our
if people
society
actually
believes
stop
in.
and
But I
thought
think
about
it's
what
great.
that meant for you to say that, I think they'd be pretty,
Right.
that would raise a few eyebrows.
Well,
I think
it
it's pretty
has.
funny
I've
that the
gotten
guy
a lot
who
of arguments
casually
over it.
uses the N-word, that's the most controversial thing he said.
Yeah.
Well, I think that.
Okay, let's not start pretending that the N-word is in any way
Yes.
wrong.
By the way, the
Fucking
N-word,
fit.
just for the record, the N-word is nigger.
Yeah, that's
If
right.
anyone was confused about what the N-word is, it's nigger, okay? Just so
Yeah.
we're all on the same page.
Nigger C,
And
nigger
that's
zero.
really
That's
what it all comes down to.
I'm calling the fucking police right now. Because
Well, no, that
I can't
actually
believe
goes
this.
that goes right
Matter.
into the topic of this whole thing. That's the problem with the world. Nobody has empathy. Everyone's a nigger. Everyone in the whole world is a fucking sociopathic nigger, and they all need to go to nigger jail,
Yeah.
which is just
right.
regular jail.
Well, I have a couple of songs on my upcoming album about this.
About nigger
like,
jail?
No, about like why I say the word
Society is the true nigger jail.
Right. about why I say the words nigga and nigger so much, which like I think it's a fundamental lack of like understanding to think that like, okay, God, this drives me insane. There's this rapper called Milo who I'm a fan of,
Oh, yeah,
but
yeah.
he seems to have a sort of disdain for white people listening to his music, and he's often mentioned how like, it's not okay that like his white fans will say nigga at him and stuff, or like, and I'm like, but dude, you say the word in your music, and your music is free. It's freely out there. Anyone can listen to it. And the people who are listening to your music, those words are now in their head. Like, if you grow up listening to rap music, it doesn't matter what race you are. You have grown up hearing the word nigga fucking constantly. And it means something to you. It doesn't mean, like, black guy. It just like it means the unbelievable number of things nigga can mean. It can mean, like as YG saying my nigga, which is obviously a positive context for the word, or like fake niggas. Like it's not saying like fake black people, it's fake niggas, like these all mean something to me just as much as they mean something to whoever wrote those songs. And like I was raised on that. You can't erase that from my mind through fucking white guilt, which I think is bullshit.
Just to play devil's advocate, so are you saying that there's no situation where there could be a certain, racial or cultural context in which he would like, in which anything, not even that word, but something could be intended specifically for a certain group, or, and shouldn't be...
Certainly, but if you're... Okay, here's the thing. When you're releasing...
If you're not a racist, then saying nigger cannot be wrong. End of story.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah, I agree. I'm just
like, there's definitely people who say... And I hear... Because I live in Virginia. We're, like, right at the cross-section of the South and North, right? Mm-hmm. There's, like... incredibly racist people here. Super racist hillbilly fucks live in Virginia. Even though a neighborhood over is all black people, there's no real racial tension here because it's such a liberal leaning city, but there's people who really grew up with ingrained racism and they still talk about it that way. And so I will hear sometimes white ladies in their 40s being like, oh, those niggers over there, and I'm like,
God damn.
It's not racist because they said nigger. It's racist because they're racist. Because they obviously think of black people as lesser. It has nothing to do with what language. If they said those blacks over there, or even just those African Americans, it's still racist because the context is that they're just insulting black people for being black.
Okay, just to play devil's advocate one more time, I know what people would say to this is that, did you're not understanding there's a cultural heritage to that word. It's been used to insult for generations.
The thing is,
fuck your
I'm just
cultural
saying,
heritage.
that's what people say. I don't
cultural
agree.
heritage.
Nate, I just want to warn you, you're at 2 now, and if you play devil's advocate 3 times in a row, you actually become the devil. So just please, you're on thin ice, okay?
I think that language is always evolving. If you ask, and this is every time someone gets into an argument about prescriptive versus descriptive linguists. Do you know those terms? Like a prescriptive linguist is someone who is a prescriptive linguist is someone who says that a word is like this and everyone should use the word the same way. A descriptive linguist says this is how people are actually using the word. This is what it actually means, so that's what it means. And that's what
So in other words, prescriptive wrong, descriptive right.
Exactly. And if you read the dictionary,
I really thought that this podcast would be us, outlining our plans for mass murder. I didn't think that this would be what I signed up for, this linguistic debate.
Well, to get through it real quick. So the actual Oxford Dictionary is descriptive. Whatever language means at the time, that's what it says in the dictionary. They update it constantly to reflect the current definitions of words. They add in lots of meme words have been added in. All those are real words because they're out there. They mean something and therefore they are words. And I think that to try and drag a word kicking and screaming back to its origin point is totally missing the point. The word nigga does not mean that anymore. It has proliferated culture to such an extent that there's no getting rid of it. And there's words that have, I think faggot has waned in popularity lately. And I think the reason for that is that I think most people kind of see it as an insult towards gay people, right? When you say faggot, it feels like it means you're gay and that's bad. And that's why not as many people are using it. And we have a great replacement word.
I don't see it that way.
I mean, I don't think it's I think faggot's fine. I don't have a huge problem with it, but I do think that because it feels more like that, it's waning away. And
but
because
see, that totally depends on the person saying it. Now it's all this nuanced stuff about whose feelings are the authority on the matter.
Right.
It's just.
If I could chime in on the nigger discussion, I do have an anecdote that you might find amusing.
Go for it.
All right.
I do agree with everything Digibro is saying, actually, and I regret that earlier I said the N-word and started all this. I should have just said nigger, because, in my view, it is completely about the context. Calling somebody a nigger to their face in an inflammatory way is, of course, wrong, but if we're having a discussion about nigger, why would you say the N-word? But back when I was in high school, we were reading, it was To Kill a Mockingbird, one of those books.
Yeah.
And it was when you go in a circle and each person reads a paragraph and it goes on. And there's this...
Oh,
Here
I love
There was
those.
this little super religious uptight bitch named Michaela in my class.
Oh, everybody
glad you
knows I'm
remember
a
her
fucking
name.
Michaela,
Michaela.
man. I hate Michaela.
And,
All right.
We've all got our own
Fucking
Michaela.
bitch.
And you know what? Michaela is like the perfect name for that kind of
It's
person.
true.
That's like the
True.
nigger for that kind of person. From now on, when I say Michaela, that's
So here's my
Fucking
story about
Michaelas.
Michaela.
Yeah,
and this is
yeah.
this is
Yeah.
where I discovered that she is a hideous human being because
A hideous
she
Michaela.
refused
yeah.
to say any cuss words. Right? She would skip over it. The word
Oh,
bitch
God.
was in it, so she skipped over the word bitch. Next sentence, she said the word nigger, and I couldn't fucking believe it.
Oh my god.
Are you fucking kidding me,
Savage.
Michaela?
Okay, was she guilty or was she just like, yeah, that's what I do? Fucking
No,
niggers.
she thought
man, you
nigger
know?
was okay to say, but not bitch.
Oh my god.
That sounds like something
Here's
about her
my-
home life, you know?
Could she have? Is it possible that she actually didn't know the word?
No, this was 11th grade.
well, maybe because
Yeah.
Michaelas are such niggers, she thought it was okay.
Oh my god, that is priceless. Yeah, no, but anyway, just to finish off what I was
Yeah,
saying before
okay.
that, like I think because faggot has not to say that I think it has negative implication, but I think enough people feel kind of wrong about saying it that it's faded in popularity as a word. You don't hear it nearly as much. Everyone clearly thinks it's a problem. But the word nigga is not a bad word in like 99% of the context it's used in. Like if you listen to, again,
true.
if you listen to any rap music, you've heard the word 1,000 million times, usually in a positive context. And like, so when people think that word, it's not usually to mean like, fucking black people. It's usually to just like, I mean, the people who use the word by far the most are black people, you know? Like,
just to chime in with my perspective, I did not grow up saying or hearing the word. I didn't know the word until like a black friend of mine in like 5th or 6th grade told it to me and explained it to me. Yeah, and
Was his name
you know,
Michaela?
I never listened to rap. I never listened to rap growing up, so I don't make a habit of saying the word because it's not part of the way that I grew up speaking.
Right.
But I totally agree with you guys in that it has plenty of there's plenty of use.
And
for
you know
it
what?
outside
All right,
of
I'm
the bad
joining. I'm
ones.
playing devil's advocate one more time. I'm
Oh
going
my
all the
God.
way.
devil!
All the
Time
way.
to fucking chime.
I have no sympathy for the devil.
Okay,
But we can definitely have
Yeah,
empathy.
yeah. Oh,
That's
definitely.
right. That's right. So, okay, just about the usage of the word. I'm just noticing that there's something going on here where, like, it's about like the feelings of the people using it, and I just want to raise the issue of what if, like, there's a small group of people who views a word a certain way, and they're kind of contained in their own community, and then let's just say everybody else uses it a different way. Are those people wrong to be, let's say, offended by the
that's
word
a
nigger?
great question.
You know?
And I don't think anyone's wrong to be offended, but I think that on some level we have to draw a line, right? Like
I agree. It's a practical
I would just
issue.
say that those people should understand and take into consideration that different people use
They
words
should use
differently.
empathy.
I mean, here's
a
the
little
thing.
bit.
I say nigga all the time because of the fact that I it's not that I don't expect people to be offended. It's that those kind of people I'm okay with losing. Like every time I make
Oh,
a
yeah,
video,
yeah.
I make a decision between like because you know if you're not saying certain words in your videos, there's only one reason. It's that you don't want to offend other people. And the only reason in the world not to try to offend people is that you think it will affect you somehow. That it will either make you feel bad or it'll make so fewer people watch your videos, right? And so
Digi, that sounds like you're a sociopath.
That just
Well-
sounds like being practical, dude.
The only reason to not hurt people's feelings is so it doesn't hurt me somehow.
That's what it comes down to at the end of the day,
I think
dude.
that's what I think. Like, I mean, people will say like, you know, oh, I'm concerned about others, but I think being concerned about others is a result of being concerned about
Yeah,
yourself.
like why do people start neighborhood watches?
What?
It's because they
No,
don't want to get their
you
shit
guys are all
jacked.
evil.
No, I totally am with Digi
Yeah,
on this
he's
one.
totally right.
my
Dude,
God.
ju-
It's all. I've never read a book by Ayn Rand, but I'm all about that Randian, objectivity, objectivist, rational self-interest mindset. That's what it's all
Well, I
about.
just-
and everything
I
else,
just think
everything
that-
else is just a fucking
don't
lie
be
and
shitting on my
vanity.
girl, Ayn.
I think that everything makes.
I'm not shitting
I
on
just
her.
think
you agree?
everything
Oh,
makes the most sense if you look at it
were
like
joking.
logically, right? Like, okay, why do we have emotions? Because in our best self-interest, like if we want to survive better, then it's in our best interest to connect with other people. Because as a community, we have better chances of survival. We can watch each other's backs. We can, do all that. So how do we make ourselves care about other people. Well, that's where like emotions would come in, right? You get sad when someone dies because ultimately it affects the community, which means it affects you. And like you don't necessarily understand it that way, you don't perceive it that way, but all the emotions you feel, they make sense if you look at it from the perspective of like, how does this affect me? You know, so I do think, and that's the reason why we have such a hard time empathizing with people who we don't think affect us. Like, if we're at war with another culture, then those people dying, we're like, well, that benefits us, so fuck them, you know? Whereas if it was our teammates dying, then it's like, we've lost something, so, you know. So I do think that all of it comes down to self-interest.
This reminds me of this guy I used to work with who confessed to me that he'd be upset if his parents died only because of the financial burden it would cause him.
Well, he says that. Perhaps
well,
that is
one legitimate reason that I mean, you know, I would be upset for that reason as well as other reasons.
Right. I mean, I am very emotionally attached to my parents, but like, and like, it's not like if they died, it'd be like, oh, it's all me. Like, I'd be sad about their death, you know, like I'd be sad because it's them. But the reason I have those emotions in the first place is that they make sense. Like, of course, your parents are the ones who are protecting you. Like, they're a huge part of your life. They brought you here, you know, like they're a huge part of what you associate with sustainability, you know, is like having these figures who for most of your life were your sustainability. So of course you're going to feel, you know, tragically hurt if they die. So like, I feel like that guy's not wrong. He's just looking at it from an extremely cynical perspective, you know.
I mean, that guy must have a rocky relationship there or something.
Probably.
If in fact he was telling the truth and not just having a goof. Which I suspect,
not just
personally.
being edgy.
Yeah.
I would never associate with edgy people.
Of course not.
Get the fuck out of here. No, I listened to an interview with Ayn Rand, and it really bothered me because the guy. No, this was an old interview. It was the black and white. It was like real old. But the guy interviewing her was like, he was being such a dick. Like, I saw other interviews where he was totally civil, but with Ayn Rand, like, he clearly had an animosity towards her ideals and was trying to, like, catch her out and kind of, like, he was, like, really trying to come at it from, like, you're wrong and let me prove it. He was like, oh, you say that it's all about mankind's rational self-interest, but you're married, aren't you? You financially support your husband, don't you? You know, what the fuck's up with that? How does that jive with your gay-ass philosophy?
It fucking
is basically what he wasn't saying.
Easily does, you piece of shit. I watched those interviews after I read all the books. Yeah. And holy shit, that fucking guy just did not, you know, forget the mouse.
You know the same one. You're talking about the same one.
The big fucking glasses, piece of shit asshole. I remember him.
For the record,
he wasn't wearing
glasses.
I
don't necessarily agree with like Ayn Rand's stance that like.
All right, but this guy's the problem. This fucking idiot.
I think
it's like
wait
it's
so easy.
Guys.
That guy just needed some fucking empathy because if he had even an ounce of it, it would have been so easy for him to square the idea of financially supporting someone else with one's rational self-interest.
And then maybe you could like maybe reevaluate your own view of the world and like maybe have a greater understanding of the fucking way that life works.
It is not difficult to understand how those two things can jive.
And
with
I've
each
always
other.
said that like the reason I have sort of a not necessarily like socialist, I would say I'm probably somewhere between that and like a libertarian. Again, I'm like a Aberdolf Linkler. I believe in every fucking thing. But like I think like the socialist ideas make sense because ultimately having more people who are better off will benefit us because we make progress faster. Like if more of the like uneducated and badly off people were doing better and they had better odds of like becoming scientists or whatever, and then we got more scientists and we're chugging along better. You know, like it makes sense to lift people up from the bottom. And for what it's worth, Ayn Rand, like, I mean, anyone can like espouse beliefs and not necessarily uphold themselves to them. Ayn Rand herself did live on welfare for the last part of her life, so totally against everything she stood for. But
look,
I do find that hilarious.
Consider herself a book writer, story man, as opposed to a philosopher.
Nobody's perfect.
Right. Yeah.
Nobody's perfect.
Is it Ayn Rand or Ayn Rand? Because
nobody cares.
Ayn Rand sounds like it's short for Anus Rand.
Yeah.
And I can't take someone seriously whose name.
She looked a
Anus.
bit like an anus in her later years.
She is an ugly woman. That is for sure.
Yeah, she was no Dagny Taggart.
But she had a beautiful heart.
It's an Atlas Shrugged character. Yeah.
Why are you laughing?
Because women are shit. Lol. Okay. You know,
if if Elliot Rodger were in charge, she would have been in a fucking cage being artificially inseminated, and that would have
you
just
think,
been wrong.
In that interview that you saw, was that glasses guy like trying to prod her about her philosophy, and she said, well, at least I'm beautiful on the outside, and then he looks at the camera like, I don't know.
That was probably cut for time. I'm sure it was.
He adjusts
Jesse, you
his
should look up
tie
what
and
she
makes an
looks
audible
like.
gulp.
She's like a borderline Skeletor. Like,
Oh,
she
whatever,
is-
man. She's an old ass bitch. Cut her some slack, for fuck's sake.
Even when she was
Yeah.
young, she was
She's
fucking
an
weird
old ass
looking.
dead bitch.
I've
Come
never
on.
seen young
I'm
Ayn
googling
Rand.
it right. You're fucking lying to me.
I don't think Ayn Rand ever was young. I think she was born a crotchety old
She looks fucking fine, dude. She looks perfectly fucking fine. Whatever. you
I looked at
She was born from
She
a
looks
hag
like a-
hole on the 4th of July.
She looks like Franz Kafka, but a woman.
Yeah, I guess she does. It's the photography of the time. Okay, well,
Hey, let's bring this conversation back to empathy, and let's talk about. Do you guys have any thoughts on who in our society or who in the world needs or deserves more empathy than they get?
Me.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree
yeah,
with that.
Yeah.
I have a very
think-
controversial answer that I'll probably regret saying.
Go ahead.
Please-
Go for it.
That's what I was
Yeah.
hoping for. That is exactly what I wanted.
So, all jokes and memes aside, I do think society is too hard on pedophiles, and that's because they assume all
Yep.
pedophiles want to hurt
I agree with
kids.
that wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
oh, I'm so glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
I really wanted to talk about your thoughts
What a
on
surprise. We all agree with you.
All right, first of all,
Yeah,
the
'cause,
dis-
like, 'cause
This is
go
the
ahead,
only
Ben.
neighborhood you could have walked into, and everyone's like, "Oh yeah, pedophiles, of course."
No, it makes perfect sense though, because I think a lot of people would agree that if you look at it if you take a step back and look at it, like they didn't ask to be
Exactly.
that way. You know?
Yeah, that's the
Like,
biggest thing.
yeah.
I mean,
It's
first
ju-
of all,
like if we can have this whole cultural revolution about the gays and say the gays, I don't know why I'm emphasizing the gays,
Gays.
but if we can say that gay people are born that way and like we're all confident in that now, why are we not extending the same thing to pedophiles?
Because they're
you know.
associated with hurting children, just like the gays used to be back in the day.
yeah,
Right.
And it's extended to things that are absolutely ludicrous, like in most places in
Ludicrous?
the world. Whatever, ludicrous. My favorite rapper.
Favorite rapper, Ludacris.
Yeah,
He's pretty good.
yeah. I enjoyed his rap, "Folding Paper." I was. What was I fucking saying? I've completely lost.
They extend things to things that are ludicrous.
I-
They extend the idea of gays being better. Okay, whatever.
I've lost it. It's gone.
His great pedophile anthem, pimping all over the world.
I don't want to fuck anything except the lolly.
I just. Oh yeah, you should listen to my lolly rap. Oh, okay, whatever.
It's
I
not
could
a
just
rap.
My
Whatever.
fucking song. I'm all mixed up now. I'm thinking about Ludacris.
You know what? If Corey in the House is an anime,
Yeah.
then
Which it is.
then the Lolly song is
Lolly,
a rap.
the greatest
so there
love
you
of
go.
all. I was going to say that things have extended to a ludicrous degree by banning like even I'm talking about like anime
Anime
of like
porn.
lolly porn,
Yeah, that's
you know,
where
like
we're
lolly
going with
porn.
this.
That's what I'm trying to say. It's
Oh
absolutely
yeah, didn't
ridiculous.
Didn't Australia like ban
the UK.
hentai that had flat-chested girls in it?
No,
Some
no,
of them.
As though
Australia,
flat-chested girls
Australia
aren't
did one
adults.
better. Australia banned all pornography with A-cup breasts, including
God.
That's what
live-action
Ben's
pornography with women over the
What?
age of 18
things have
because
gone-
their boobs are too small.
Things have gone so
Yeah, how
far
fucked
over the
up is
fucking
that?
deep end. It's ridiculous. That makes me so angry.
That is. You know what? Okay. Whatever you might have to say about pornography, I think that doing that, banning that specific pornography, is fucking dehumanizing to people with small
Unbelievably
boobs.
so.
Of course.
Even more, way more so than porn itself could ever be.
Yeah, and like people, just to the opposite end of that spectrum is like how people, get in a tizzy when like there's a little bit of a tizzy about like if Tifa's gonna have like big tits, even though the character has big tits. And I talk to plenty of girls in the real world who have big tits
Oh,
that
you
are like,
liar.
no, it's true. I swear to God, and they tell me that like the fact that Tifa would be reduced in chest size is dehumanizing to actual real life big titted women. It's like you have to fit within this fucking narrow limit of what's socially and like morally acceptable. And if you just physically don't fit that standard, there is something wrong with you, and it's so fucked up. Makes me so mad.
Okay, I was on Twitter the other day, as I often am, and I saw one of my follows, an artist, and she posted a thing that was like, my art then and my art now, and it was like a drawing of like an idol girl with a microphone doing a song and dance, whatever. And the new one was better, but I couldn't help but notice that the old one was skinny, and the new one had like a noticeable pot belly.
Boy.
And I was like, I wonder, is that part of the improvement that I meant to be seeing here? Is the implication here that is necessarily better?
She's become enlightened about body positivity, dude.
Can we
we
just...
all agree
Yeah,
that
I
fat
know,
people deserve to be ashamed of themselves?
They deserve to be thrown to concentration camps and burned
And
alive.
I'm speaking as someone. I'm not grotesquely fat, but I feel ashamed of how fat I am right now, and I find that to be healthy. Like I think I should be ashamed because I should be healthier.
It's a motivating
should be
fucking
working
factor.
out.
Oh,
Like
God.
Yeah.
because you feel exponentially better when you're not fat. I've been there, and it's a much like not only do you feel better, you function
think that
better.
shame is a healthy component of a good society.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Shame is important.
How else do you get people to
Shame
do shit?
shaming.
But,
Go
I
vote
mean,
it up.
Like we can't force people to do things. Like you can't like force people to eat healthy. So instead, we've got this shaming mechanic. Like you have to do something if you want people to.
I mean, like we're not gonna
do the right
like.
thing.
I don't think it's right to have us pretend that we find something attractive that we don't. Like if how unfair is it?
yeah.
Like if you're like super fat and you're like, oh, body positivity, I deserve to look the way I want, people should respect that. Do you extend that same thing to just like horribly ugly people? Like, would you pretend you found them attractive? Because you'll notice that in all this art that's coming out of Tumblr, no matter how fat the characters are, they're still drawn with, normal proportioned faces.
Yes.
And like,
oh my god. Oh my fucking god, this is such a pet peeve of mine. When people draw like Mei from fucking Overwatch, right?
Yeah.
Like they'll draw her with huge tits and a huge like ass and giant thighs and a tiny waist, right? They draw her looking fucking sexy as hell, like hyper sexualized, hyper idealized body image. And then they'll do that and say, yes, so progressive, an overweight character, a fat character, someone that I can relate to. No, you fucking hypocrites, you fucking bastards, you should all die. You should all die for failing to understand this, that it's not the fucking same. That what you're doing is exactly the same as the thing that you claim to be against.
And another
fucking
one
God,
like
when
that.
People don't get
I
that.
see these trifling ass hoes that are just big fat women who say like, people should love me for who I am, but of course I'm not going to date a fat guy. Obviously not. Why would I do that? That'd be fucking retarded. No way. I see it. It's real. It's real.
When people draw... Yeah, like, I would respect someone who drew, like, a comic or something with a character who is legitimately fucking ugly. Like,
By
really
the way,
ugly.
it's bad if men do that
but when
too,
someone,
not just
But when
women.
someone draws someone who is obviously hot, just they have really big thighs, and pretend that is somehow pushing an envelope, fuck them.
Right.
Fuck them.
if you're, I mean,
there's
if
a lot
you
of passion
really,
on this subject. I like it.
Yeah, this is a great show. Yeah, that drives me crazy. Like the idea. Look, we're on the
My audio is clipping like crazy. So
Excellent.
sorry for that.
We're a YouTube. Look, this is a YouTube internet podcast.
Yeah.
Inevitably,
By sneezing, it's very important.
There's no way that a significant portion of our audience is not fat. Like,
Right.
we have fat
And that's
listeners.
fine.
We're like,
That's
you know,
fine.
You're not a worse person necessarily for being fat.
Well, I mean, you
just-
are, but,
like,
you know.
I think.
But it sure isn't making you a better person.
But here's the thing. I think most fat people like appreciate that they're not attractive. Like okay, one of my best friends, my friend Dansan. I don't know if you guys have seen him. He's like 300 fucking pounds. He makes no excuses for that. He thinks of himself as like, I am not attractive. I'm not trying to go out and like fucking pick up chicks. I don't expect anyone to think I'm good looking. You know, like he's.
He could, though.
I mean, he kind of.
Well,
he's not ugly. Like that's the thing. He's really fat.
He's chiefly, dude. He's chiefly.
Yeah.
I would say you can be ugly, right? And you can recognize that you are traditionally ugly, and you can still be positive about yourself and be proactive, and you can go out and be social and meet people and fucking fuck people if you want. There are people that will fuck you no matter how ugly you are, and that goes for men. That goes for men and women.
Right.
If you
can
want
go
to
to
be
the place where the ugly people live.
If you want to be
find them.
happy with yourself, the key to that is not to like try to convince you that you're something you're not. It's to be happy with what you are. If you're fucking accepted fat. Don't be like, everyone should say that I'm beautiful. No, you're ugly. Deal with that and be happy anyways. Just be happy for other reasons.
Hey, you know,
let me put a caveat on this. A lot of people will. Okay, to an extent, I agree that like there is a reason for fat stigma, and that's because being fat is not necessarily healthy, and a person can improve themselves, potentially, get thinner. Yes, that can be done, but I feel like a lot of people, when they do that, they sort of make this sort of insinuation that anyone can be as thin as they want to be. Anyone can have the body that they want. Right. And there are things about people's bodies, and there are ways that people look, including to a certain extent weight, not entirely, that are out of people's control. Right. And I think it's unfair to act as though every aspect of a person's appearance is under their control.
Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah. I just think, like, I think that, how do I put it? Like, you can't make yourself a 10, but you can at least make yourself healthy, and it'll give you more confidence. It'll probably make you just, like, a better person all around. Like, that same friend, Dansan, he was 350 pounds at a time. He got onto a diet, and he lost, he did the keto diet. He lost 100 pounds in a year. He burned off 100 fucking pounds, and, like, it didn't make him attractive. Like, first of all, he never got...
He's, like, he still just looks like himself, just a slightly skinnier version.
He got, muscular, and, I mean, he was still fat, but you could tell he was, like, a beast, but he wasn't doing it because he thought it would make him hot. He was doing it because he was fucking out of shape, and he had difficulty, like, we would go on, like, these hikes and stuff, like, every year. Like, the first time, it was almost impossible for him. He would have a hard time going to fucking Otakon and walking around, and so he got fucking fit, and ever since then, he's been a way more confident person. And here's the funny thing, he regained that 100 pounds. Like, as soon as he got a job, he completely stopped working out, fell off his diet, regained 100 pounds. But he's still, like, But
he kept the confidence?
Yeah, he kept the confidence. Like, everything he learned from...
That's pretty good.
From gaining.
That's a good deal.
Because he knows he could do it if he wanted to. Like, if he wanted to lose 100 pounds, he knows how it works now, and he could do that. And it's like, well, he's comfortable with himself like, he never really had a huge problem with the fact that he was fat as, like, a personal thing. Like, he always just saw it as, like, yeah, whatever, I just like to eat a lot, like, fuck it, know.
And by the way, let me just touch for a second on what I believe is the origin of all of this, and is the biggest problem with this, and probably the biggest problem in the universe. And it's that's right. It's
bigger than asteroids. Is that what it was? That was
bigger than SJW.
It depends. Maybe. I mean, they're kind of interlinked, but it really is an entitlement to happiness and a cultural desire to remove all unhappy things from your life. Because there's this perception, and it's getting bigger and bigger, that you should not have to experience bad things in your life, and that the more happiness you have, just all the time, your life is objectively better. That is, in fact, not true. Happiness is way overrated because it doesn't get jack shit done. The only things that are worth doing in life are things that are in the pursuit of happiness and that achieve a larger goal that make humanity better.
I don't know how much I agree.
I believe it.
I think it's fine to cut, like, I mean, that's like saying that you have to have negative things in your life. I don't think that's true at all.
They build character, dude. I think you do. You absolutely do. Even having to get up in the morning is a negative thing you have to do.
Do you think I'd be better off if I subjected myself to every retarded comment I get, as opposed to banning those people?
Okay, like, there are practical limits to what I'm talking about here.
I'm saying that, like, I think there's a huge difference between saying, I'm going to avoid things that make me upset, and everyone else has to make it so I don't see something that makes me upset.
Hey, that brings me to a great and definitely controversial. Mumkey, you're cool and all, but your topic was not controversial enough. This is going to blow the controversy of your pedophile thing out of the water. I have lots of empathy for shitty commenters.
Sure.
Yeah, that's weird.
Get the fuck
out of here. Why are you like that? I don't understand that.
I think that we need to, when you read a shitty comment, you really have to take a step back and understand that this person just does not have the context that he needs to be not a shitty commenter.
I have plenty of empathy for them, but it's understand. Okay, if someone, like, stabbed me in the leg, and I completely understood all of the reasons that they stabbed me in the leg, I would still stab them back. Like, it doesn't.
Yeah.
Like, even if it was a mistake,
fair dues.
I mean, okay. Let's say it was.
If somebody
a total,
mistakenly stabbed you, you would stab them back?
No, let's say it was a total. Let's say it was a total accident. Well, I wouldn't stab them back, but I would expect reparation, right? Like, let's say I'm standing.
Are you fucking Indian?
Like, if someone like throws a spear for some reason, like
that's racist.
I was thinking it before he said anything about the word Indians.
Lord, reparation, spear throwing. This is off the
I'm
rails.
like literally
it's a
picturing.
black
Have any of you
thing.
seen Ace
Spear
Ventura
check.
2,
Okay,
the part
Yeah.
where the African guy throws the spears into his legs because he's
Yeah,
trying to give
sure.
him a spear, like that, right? So let's say someone's trying to throw a spear at a target and they violently
In
miss
that
and it goes off
incredibly
course.
specific scenario, if you're Ace Ventura and your friend is trying to give you a spear,
And if the spear hits me in the leg, then I'm not just gonna be like, oh, you know what? You missed. It's all good. I'm gonna be like, pay for my fucking surgery because I can't walk anymore.
alright.
You know? So that's
Yeah,
the way I see it with
yeah.
comments. Is like, no matter how stupid the person is, no matter how much I understand that they don't get what they've done, the fact is that they've made me mad, and now I need to get something in return. You know? So.
But did you have to be mad?
Yeah.
Well,
Did it
if you read
did it need
if
to
you read
make you mad?
There is
Aren't
no
you choosing to be
excuse
mad?
for deliberately fucking with another person. That's my philosophy on the whole world. Everyone should leave everyone the fuck
deliberately
alone.
fucking with you, or do
Yes.
they just not
Do you-
have the fucking context
Are you
that they
such
need?
a Ben Saint that you completely control what makes you mad at all times? Like, nothing.
No. Listen, I don't control it, but it's my responsibility what I get mad.
Guys,
at.
listen,
I
this
think
is what
for
we
me-
need to do. What we
Yeah.
need to do, each one of us, all five
Wait
of
a
us.
minute! No, it's not your responsibility
all right,
what makes you mad. That's
Yes,
insane.
it is. It is my responsibility what
All right,
makes me
no,
mad.
It's your
not a
responsibility to not fuck with people and leave shitty
All right,
comments.
hang on.
I don't leave shitty comments on other people's videos. They leave
I
it
don't know.
because
Maybe
they're
someone
bad
thinks
people.
your comments are shitty. Maybe somebody out there thinks your comments are shitty and gets mad about
But
them.
I
And you know
don't
what?
leave
That's their
comments.
All right,
problem.
hang on, Monkey. What were you saying? Finish
I
your
think
thought.
what we need to do is each one of us go down the line and name all the types of comments that piss us off so that people know to never post those again. Go ahead,
Oh
Ben.
well, lucky for you, we've addressed.
I assume
this
you
a
know
little
about
bit.
commenter rules, our podcast.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, I don't think I was there, but there was a whole thing about it.
Oh,
I just wanted to trick you guys, but it didn't work.
I gotta
for you,
fucking
Monkey.
let this cat out of my room. She's driving me insane.
God damn it! No, I'm not letting this go.
right, Jesse, go
How is
ahead.
it
Okay.
in any way? How is it my fault if someone else decides to fuck
Well, it's
with
about
me?
a mentality. It's about
They're
the way
not-
you
no.
approach, what you experience.
I
you
mean,
know?
But it's a fucking comment on the internet. How does that actually affect you? Why do you care?
Because they're stupid! It's not okay for people to be stupid! They should be rounded up and sent to concentration camps!
they're people.
Okay, I'm back.
It's not their fault they're stupid. It's not their fault they're stupid. They're the product of their upbringing and
I don't
their
care if it's
environment
their
and their.
fault. It's not an excuse
I mean,
either.
but how do we know, Ben?
Ignorance of the law is not an excuse, Ben.
They could be
Wait,
malicious
what's that
It
from?
could be.
What is that from?
Yeah, what is excuse from?
Ignorance of the law is not. Is that from
Well, that's
like
just a fucking line from real life. That's just like a thing that
It
cops
sounds
say.
like something the Briscoe brothers would say or something.
I want to tell
that
you,
word-
but I
that
also
word
don't want to tell you
excuse.
because
Oh, man,
you don't.
I've heard that.
It's from Cool Cat. It's from fucking YMS's. No, it's
Yeah,
from the.
yeah.
It's from the Daddy Derek.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
oh yeah,
Daddy
his
Derek.
fucking anti-copyright thing. Ignorance of the law is. God, I can't do his voice at all.
Is not a excuse.
I went right into a
What
black
world
voice.
are you living in where you have complete control over who and what makes
I'm
you
not.
mad?
I don't have complete control of it, but it's my problem.
Well, that's the thing, Ben. Okay, I agree with the idea. Like my whole problem with social justice warriors and all that shit is that I see it as if you're the one who has a problem, you have to go about solving it.
Ben,
right?
you get mad at me 10 times a day. Are you admitting that it's all your fault and never mine?
Oh shit.
I guess to a certain extent, I would agree with that.
I win forever. You heard it here, folks. Ben fell into my fucking trap.
That is a pretty good
Shit.
one.
But I think getting
God damn
angry
it.
about internet
Yeah.
comments at all is kind of on you because it's the internet. You have to expect that shit, and to get upset about it
You're
is
absolutely
retarded.
100% wrong.
I disagree
internet-
wholeheartedly. I think
Monkey,
the internet is meant
I
for
have
bad
such-
comments. That's the
no,
point.
I have
It's
such a
fun.
problem with that mindset because that's like saying, okay, if you.
It sounds like you want to save space.
What I want is reality. I want the world. I want the internet to become what it is, which is reality. In reality,
The
if you
internet's
walk
a
up to
fucking
someone...
hive mind of evil and hatred.
But that's the thing. It's not. It used.
have
There
to
was a
be.
time.
No, that-
I think if you were talking about
that is reality.
if you were
though.
talking
That
about
is
the
reality.
early 2000s or something like back when it was all just like a boys' club of a bunch of 4chaners, then sure. But that's not what the internet is anymore. Everyone's on it.
A second ago, you were giving a prescriptive, descriptive
Wait a
argument
minute.
about linguistics, and now you can't accept that the internet has changed. It's not the definition you're
Monkey.
used to.
No, I'm
Let's
saying
go back.
I'm saying that the internet has changed. There was a time back in the 2000s when it was just a wretched hive of scum and villainy. When if you went online, you should expect that it was gonna be shit. But I don't think it's like that anymore. And I think that us saying, "Oh, you should expect that on the internet," that's like saying, "Don't try to change anything. Just accept things as they are." When
Yeah, well,
Monkey.
you know what, Digi? That is exactly what I would say. You should not try to change anything because the way the comments are on the internet is just how people are. Those are real people. Those are their real
agree
thoughts.
with you.
That is how
I
things
agree with
are.
you that that's how things are.
Yeah,
we should
and
be
in
changing
real life,
how
those
things
people would
are.
get their asses
Like,
kicked.
Are you not?
Yes, but
Are any of you
but they're
not
on the internet
idealists?
and they
Do
can
you
let
not-
their true flags fly. They can show their true colors, and guess what? People, their true colors. You know, a lot of people are stupid. A lot of people don't take the time to fully understand something before
But would you
commenting
not
on it and
rather that
forming
it
an
wasn't
opinion.
like that? Like, we should be trying to
I
make
would
the world
rather
a
that
better
it wasn't
place,
like that, but
Impossible
it is like
expectation.
that. It is like
I'm
that.
not. No,
and that is
it's not
all
about
there is to it.
expectation. It's about hopes. I have very low expectations for everything. All of humanity, I think they're all worthless. I have no expectations for anybody, but I hope they can be better. And
I
the only
hope
way
that
to make them
Harambe gets
better,
resurrected, but it's not going to
Yeah,
happen.
yeah.
You have to be realistic.
if you're
Let's
being,
go
look,
back
being
a bit.
realistic is being weak. Okay, if you don't think you can make the
Oh,
world better,
get the
then you've
fuck
given
outta
up.
here.
You're being a pussy.
Like
make
Eisen
the world
said,
better.
like Eisen said in
I
Bleach,
have-
you should envision the world the way you wish it to be, not accept
Exactly.
it as it is. That's why Bleach is the best series ever
exactly.
made.
I don't.
Mumkey, I really want to shit on you for that safe space comment, and I'll tell you
Okay.
why. Because you fucking stupid memers, you whiny little petulant 4chan fucked. You always, as soon as someone tells you that maybe you should be responsible for your own actions and not be a fucking cunt, what do you fall back on? Oh, you just want a safe space. Well, what the fuck is the comment section then if not your fucking safe space where you think you can say whatever the fuck you want and fuck with people and piss people off? That's looking for a fucking safe space. You know, you go on 4chan and everyone's complaining about, oh, these college kids, they want safe spaces. Oh yeah, those stupid deluded college kids, they want a place where no one fucks with them. Well, what the fuck is 4chan if not a safe space for bitter, sociopathic little edgelord fucks to wallow in their own misery and bring everyone down to their level? What is it if not a safe space? You fucking fuck!
Yeah, it's an echo. It's
Yeah,
an echo
that's
chamber.
true.
I completely agree.
There's lots of them. They're all
And I
over
love
the place.
it. I love being there and saying shit I can't say
The
anywhere else.
reason why I
Okay,
use
it's
the
great.
term safe space is because it sounds like you guys are advocating for censorship in your comment sections, and I hate
No,
censorship.
I'm advocating for
There's
death
no
and
such
murder
thing
and
as
carnage and
censorship
bloodshed
in
and
a comment
violence.
section. That is not a thing. Comment section is a platform I give the audience. I don't have to give it to them. They don't deserve it. I shouldn't give it to them, but I do because I have some benefit from it, which is that I like reading comments sometimes. But there is no such thing as censoring a comment section because it's entirely mine. It's like if you said someone came onto my front lawn and screamed, "Ah, niggers, get out of town!" and I kicked them out. If you would call that censorship, that's no different from saying that kicking someone out of your comments is censorship. It's not censorship. If they want a platform, they have the entire world. They can go make their own. You want to go talk shit about me? Go somewhere else on the internet. You know, I can't ban you from our anime, so go there and talk shit about me all you want.
And they do. And they do.
And they do. But, like, you can't, if you bring that to my comment section, that's my house. You know, I give you the platform. It's all me. You don't deserve it, and it's not yours.
All right,
so,
Digi,
I agree with you. I just think we need to respect. You know, that what we were saying before is that everyone is the product of their environment, and everyone's
Right.
a product of circumstance. And a shitty comment is no different. A shitty comment is the product of the
I
circumstances
agree,
in which it was
but I
written.
also think, like, because what you were saying about taking responsibility for the fact that you're mad, what I think that the social justice warriors aren't doing is that. Because what I think they're doing is they're saying everyone has to change to meet my needs.
Right,
They're like,
right.
I'm
Yeah,
offended.
and when people say that,
like,
they're wrong.
I'm offended because you said this word, so therefore everyone has to stop saying the word. No. What you should be saying is, I'm offended, so I'm going to take measures so that I will not encounter this word. Now, if you come to my comment section, I have a very easy means of taking measures so that you can't bother me anymore, which is that I ban you. You know, like it's my comment section where I have the control. If I'm not gonna. What would be an SJW thing to do? What would be asking for a safe space? Would be if I went onto the internet and said, "Guys, everyone's leaving shitty comments about me. Everyone has to stop. Block all these websites. Block our anime.
Yeah.
Block this place. You know, let me call the government and file a petition to get our anime taken down because they're talking shit about me." That's not.
yeah.
That would be the SJW mindset.
I think that the appropriate response to a shitty comment and a shitty commenter is a shadow ban. I think that engaging them is
I completely disagree.
Well, I
I
think
think they
engaging
deserve
them can be educated. I mean,
point-
I have had
No, I
dude.
don't
You have
think it-
no idea, and this is not the
okay,
same
well, maybe,
necessarily. I don't know how it's been for Jesse, but for me, I have had an unbelievable number of people apologize to me for their shitty comments. Like, I've had so many times where someone writes something that's kind of snide and shitty, and I come back at them and I'm like, I correct them, and then they'll say like, "Oh, sorry, like I was just kind of mad in the moment, and like I didn't think you would actually read this, you know."
Okay,
like,
that kind of highlights
that goes
my
against
point
your
that
argument,
it's the product of the circumstance.
well, no,
you know, that it's not,
saying,
that-
look, I am
yeah.
saying I am extremely empathetic towards commenters, but there's like the only reason for me to do that, like the only benefit for that is that like I like that more people have been educated, right? Like, if those people apologize and all that, that's cool, and it makes me feel all warm and fuzzy that someone maybe is smarter now and they'll think more about their comments. But that doesn't mean that, like, I'm gonna do that for everybody, because sometimes I'm just in a bad mood and fuck out all of them. I hope they all die. Kill yourself. It doesn't bother me. Fucking go twist your balls up in a vice.
This
eat
whole
shit,
idea
you know?
of you shouldn't respond to shitty commenters is a meme that needs to fucking die.
I know you don't subscribe
because
to it.
These people should not get away with it. It's not okay to be stupid. It's not okay to fuck with people. They deserve wrath. They deserve the
But
fucking...
there is no wrath. Responding to them is what they want. It
No,
is
it's
not.
not.
It's not a
I don't think
punishment.
it is, Ben.
It
It's
is
not.
not
I
a
think-
punishment for you to call them out
I think
publicly.
most
It is.
people-
It is a
It is.
reward. It makes other people want to do it more.
I don't think it does, Ben, because I think most people don't realize like that they're doing. I think most of the people who leave shitty comments think it's funny. They just think it's.
Yeah.
They think
These are
everybody
not
wants that.
These are not like these mythical trolls that people think exist who just want a response. These are legitimate retards,
Right.
legitimately saying retarded shit. They deserve to be called out
If
for
I
it.
could
They
provide
deserve
another
to be
anecdote,
fucking
I do have a good one. For
verbally
this one.
beaten up, just like they would be physically beaten up if they said it in real life.
Yeah, I agree.
So back in the day,
Yeah, but the feeling of being verbally beaten up is not comparable to that of being.
I know,
physically
and that's a
beaten
big
up.
problem, and I wish I could somehow change it. I wish that I could make, I wish that I could invent an app that let me punch through my computer screen and knock someone's teeth out. But until that day comes, I
All right,
have to
Mumkey,
settle
Mumkey, what's your
for
anecdote
just-
there?
so this isn't specifically about shitty commenters. It's more about just trolls on the internet. But back in the day, there was this YouTube channel that's still up, but it's not active, called Reactor. And he was just a huge troll, and he would fuck with people. And specifically, he made a video pretending that Grade A Under A had endorsed him.
Oh, yeah.
And then he made it an advertisement on Grade's videos. And how this is relevant is that Grade went to his video, Reactor's video, and left just a...
That's actually really
He left
genius. I really
he left
like
a
it.
huge fucking paragraph complaining and crying like a little man baby that Reactor had done this. And in that instance, Reactor won because Grade responded to the troll
God.
and
That's
complained
true.
about it. So
True.
That story makes me so happy. Fuck Grade A Under A. He did exactly
Yeah,
the
but
wrong thing,
that's-
just like I
so
knew
if
he
you
would
blow
do
up
because he's
on
a
a
piece of
shitty
shit.
commenter, then they win. You look like a
But
fucking
that's
idiot.
not a shitty commenter. That's a genius doing some like video.
I
Okay,
think
well,
it-
hang
I
on,
think
hang
it's
on,
kind
let
of
me-
the same.
Yeah,
Let me-
agreed. That guy's a whole
I
new
want to cut
level.
in and plant my flag here for a second, because I've told you guys many times that I don't like the idea of shutting down my comments. I know Digi views it as like this is something that I control, and I'm giving you the platform, and I can take it away because
Why
it's all
shut
in
them
me.
down when you can just shadow ban and delete
Well,
all the
okay, but that's a lot of
shitty
work.
Well,
and I
because
don't have fucking
eventually,
time for that.
when you get to my level of fame, you will quickly realize why you want to close
All right.
comments.
Well,
sometimes.
Digi, I,
feel like-
I totally
I feel like-
agree
All right.
that I am an idealist.
Closing down my comments is like a utopia that I have to earn first. I
Right.
have to get to a certain level before I can
Well, okay, but
finally...
there's this one time. There was this one time on my Gurren Lagann video. I don't know which one, but like these two guys were just arguing back and forth forever. I wasn't even involved. One guy said Gurren Lagann was the shittiest anime ever, and this other guy was defending it. And this went on for a literal year. I'm sure that you've had this before, did you? But a fucking year. They were still arguing, and then I eventually
I had
came
that
in,
in an
and it
old
was
Full Metal Alchemist post.
I just came in and I said, guys, this is absolutely fucking ridiculous. You need to stop. just please, let's all agree. We are not going to agree on this, and that's the end of it. And they actually listened. They were both like, they both responded and were like, you know what, that makes some sense, dude.
Like I said, I love it when people make up for it, and I've done it countless times.
The funny thing is, other people responded to this first post and like started another argument after,
right?
Totally unrelated.
You've told this story before on this show.
Oh, have I? Okay.
Probably in commenter rules.
Probably.
But like the way I like what Mumkey's saying about like letting the trolls win. Like I think the moment you've won is when you're not bothered anymore.
Exactly.
And the moment you're not bothered anymore is when they're gone. And it's so easy to do. You ban them. You never have to deal with it again.
Or when you fucking beat them into submission.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. The same thing, Nate, that happened to you happened to me the other day. Only instead of arguing for 1 year, 2 people were arguing like 1 day.
It was
and
enough.
that got me to that level that you were at within 1 day.
Yeah, I'm sure.
There was like 2 responses of people talking amongst themselves about Metroid, and I said, enough of this. I have to come in. I told these people, shut the fuck up, you annoying idiots.
This shit will not stay.
Digibro, I agree with everything you said 100%.
And this guy got so... Mumkey,
Wait,
shut up!
on,
I'm telling a story!
Sorry, I thought he stopped.
Go on, Jesse. All right, finish your point.
But I told these guys to shut up, and this guy got so butthurt that it turned into like a long thing of me just verbally jackhammering him in the face pussy until he cried like a little bitch, and eventually, after like 17 responses of me shitting on him, he just goes, okay, God. So he's acknowledging that I'm a God.
Yeah.
He's acknowledging that he has nothing left to say.
That
And he's
comment was
running
great.
home and crying like a little bitch. I won, and I felt good about it. So that's how you beat them. You beat them at their own game. If they want to be shitty to you, you be 10 times as shitty to them until they cry like little bitches and go home and die.
In that very
that's
comment section, I think kind of proves Ben's point, because I saw one comment he said was like, dude, I'm sorry, I didn't expect you to read this. Like, I had no idea that like you, and like, I'm just saying that's the perspective. He had no idea that like you would
ignorance of the law, buddy.
Yeah.
I had a similar, somewhat similar interaction. I had a somewhat similar comment thread in the comments of that video that we posted in the chat a while back that was about the guy arguing for objectivity in art. You know, the really fucking stupid guy who said that it was all a scam by fucking land developers because he's clearly an insane madman.
Oh, man.
I'm glad that I don't remember the name of the channel because I don't want to give him exposure because he's retarded. Anyway, someone made a shitty comment that was like, so you know, if someone thinks that a pile of shit is more beautiful than a work of art, are they right? And I was like, obviously, yes, it's obviously their opinion. And then in response, he just kept calling me stupid and deluded, stupid and deluded. It was like,
fucking clowns.
I'm like, you're demonstrably wrong. You don't understand what an opinion is. And he's like, well, you're stupid and deluded. I would have had to just leave it at that. Stupid and deluded. How do I argue with that?
You can't. He's not looking at ideas the same way you are. He's got his own little world he's living in.
Right.
No, he's just like, here's an opinion I have really strongly, and I'm
actually,
like, yeah, but it's just your opinion, and he's like, no, but I have this opinion really strongly.
I want to bring that back, but first I want to let Mumkey talk before I go on another huge rant. What were you gonna say, Mumkey?
I was just saying I empathize with what you're saying 100%. I see your perspective. It's just that from my personal philosophy, I view it as censorship, but I understand your point of view, and I agree to disagree.
Right. I want to talk about
The comments section is Mega City 1, and I am Judge Dredd. The price of justice is freedom, motherfuckers.
I want to bring this back out to like another big like social overlooking point, because like the way I see it, like, you know, I empathize. I said this earlier. I empathize with everybody pretty easily, right? But functionally, we have to draw lines about people's behaviors, right? Like if someone goes around killing people, then like, in an ideal society that where everyone understands each other and we are all empathizing perfectly, then like we understand that person, you know, like we know that we have to correct them somehow, right? I love the idea of the correctional facility, a place you send someone and it actually, of course, this is not what we have in America at all.
In an ideal world where they actually work,
in an ideal world where there's
spectacular.
actually correctional facilities, that would be great, right? But functionally, right now, we don't have that. And when someone commits a crime, we have to do something about it. And like, so unfortunately, you just gotta kill people sometimes. Like some people
that's true.
Some people just have to die. And like, that's kind of my perspective on comments. The reason that I'm so comfortable with banning them is that like, back when I was a smaller YouTuber and I could actually respond to everybody and I could make everybody understand where I was coming from, then it was a beautiful time, but it's long past. If I put out a video now that gets 400,000 views and it gets 10,000 comments, then it's like, if someone's really shitting up my comment section, like in a way that I find it to be detrimental to my video, that person has to die. Like, they have to get banned because they are just harming.
Shit,
they're doing more harm than good.
I thought we were talking about capital punishment. How did this get back to comments?
I'm saying there's no difference. I view it all the same way. That, like, if someone kills, if someone goes around like on a killing spree, like, like if someone's before that point, like, let's say, like Elliot Rodger, like, ideally we could have saved him before he got there, right? If we understood what was
we
going
just
on
need
with
to buy
him.
him a prostitute. All he needed was a prostitute, and he would have been fine.
I think I have something that might be controversial, since we're all sharing our unpopular opinions.
Although we all seem to agree with each other on half of them.
I believe that mass murder is not inherently wrong.
Well, it depends on.
I mean,
those Jews weren't really going to much good over there, So
Nate,
that wasn't murder. That was
Jews.
cleansing.
I'm saying,
cleansing,
in theory, if you could mass murder like the right targets. If you could find people who were just bad, because they do exist. There are people who are just bad and need to die.
Okay. Right.
If there were like 5 of those people in a room,
if Jesse found the death note, it would have gone down exactly that way.
I mean, I would do the same.
Just
right?
all the bad
like I
people.
just said, okay, there's this great line from a Jane's Addiction song where he says, "Some people should die. That's just unconscious knowledge." And I love it. Some people just should die because it'll help the world. Like, we'll all be better off if that guy's gone.
The problem with these mass shooters is that they don't have their priorities straight when it comes to targeting these people.
They always make mistakes and shoot the wrong people,
They all get wrapped up in generalizations. It's all women, or it's all Jews, or it's all this group. It's not a group. It's all bad people. Just kill the bad people.
Just kill the politicians.
Problem solved.
Like,
I've solved another social ailment.
Yeah.
You're welcome, world.
No, see, the
Just
only
kill the
reason,
bad people.
then comes back to the Aberdolf Linkler thing. The only reason I can't completely subscribe to that is that I am almost sure that if, like, all of society decided we were going to do that, I'd get killed. So that's the only reason I can't totally back it. If we were all like, let's just kill all the bad people, it's like, well,
ideological
who's the majority?
cowardice is what
Well,
that
that's
is.
true, Digi, but to that I say society is welcome to try.
Right, that's a good point.
Yeah, what Jesse's saying harkens to one of my major issues with Elliot Rodgers, that he didn't target the specific people who caused him this pain. He just went for any random people on the street.
Right.
But there was no specific person.
Over the year, it wasn't
It's
rejection specifically, but there were specific people like James who fucked with him and all
like
that.
Suma, like I know he
Sumai
hated.
I'm
Super
just saying,
Killer.
listen,
Hey,
listen to your sister
on the
fuck some
subject
dude
of
to the
James,
wall. That's gonna fuck you up.
Mumkey. I was really moved listening to the Elliot Rodgers audiobook where you get to the part where James finally breaks off the friendship. I want to know if your tears were genuine.
Oh, yeah, I get that question all the time. I was just into the part.
Okay.
He was method acting.
It was
he
very
actually
convincing.
went out and killed a bunch of people to get into the mindset of Elliot Rodgers.
That's some true method acting right there. Oh shit! You made me lose track of my point with all this fucking Elliot Rodgers talk. God damn it.
Yeah, it's definitely wrong to kill random people, but if you can, like, really study people and figure out which ones are just shitty,
Dexter.
probably shitty commenters at home,
fuck's
if you could
sake.
just
Watch your
stalk
back,
them
fucking
and...
viewers. You don't know when you're next.
Oh yeah, I remember.
Who gets to decide who's
Yeah,
good?
I
See,
do.
Well, that's the thing. Here's
Yeah.
a thing. Like, I think there was back in the day, like in the ancient times, right? Everything was determined by like literal physical strength. The people who were the strongest, like. Because, like, it makes sense, right? If you're in a survivalist, like, environment where it's like you have to be literally strong to survive because you have to fight tigers and, like, beat people up who are fucking with your women and stuff like that. Like, the physically strong are the ones who get to have rights. And
Yes,
I think
that's my ideal world.
I think the main reason we got away from that is that, like, weak people figured out how they can keep themselves alive, right? We figured out that if we can manipulate strong people,
Thank
I say
God.
we because I am physically weak. Us weak people
thank God
figured
for
out
that.
that if we can manipulate the physically strong, then we can figure out, like, if we can convince them that we are valuable, then we can make,
Are you just talking about women right now?
I
Is that
think
what you're
he is.
describing?
No,
to me? Okay.
Women don't factor in.
Oh,
this is
burn,
ancient
you
society.
fucking
Women
bitches.
don't
You're
exist.
done. Oh, okay.
All the,
okay.
They're just baby factories in ancient times. I'm talking about weak people who, like, you know, like if you're not the guy who's out there beating up boars and stuff, then how do you prove to those guys that you shouldn't be left on the hills of Thermopylae? You know, like the Spartans, where if you were fucking a defective birth, they literally left you on the hills of Thermopylae, as I always say that we should be doing to old people. That's what they did to their old as well. Because if you weren't, like, because to them, all that mattered was being physically strong and able to fight. That's all their society was based around. But, like, meanwhile in Athens, there were all these boy fuckers who, like, you know, who were meeting around and, like, navel-gazing about philosophy. And they were like, how do we convince the strong people that we're necessary? Well, if we figure out how to, like, make new weapons for them to use and shit, and then, like, convince them that they couldn't have figured this out themselves, it's totally us. We're the smart... Y'all, you guys go out there and fucking bench more iron. We're gonna make these we'll give you new tools, you know, like we convinced them. And like on the one hand, that's how social
gain,
like,
you know,
well arguably that's how we got to this point.
Specialization
in
is
science,
how society
right?
progresses, you know.
Well, but here's the question: does society's progress matter? Because if it was still just a society of the physically strong, then, you know, it would just be like a small group of wandering nomads, and they're still living. Like just like every other animal in the world who is just, you know, like the same thing they've been for fucking millions of years. They're just around. You know, humans would be that if not for the fact that a bunch of weak humans went like, okay, well shit, like if we want to survive in this dog-eat-dog world, we gotta like build a robot that can eat dogs. You know,
I'll tell you why it's important that society progresses. Because there's going to be...
this dog-eat-dog world, you gotta build a robot that eats dogs.
There's people like, I mean, this is an extreme example, but people like Stephen Hawking. We need those kinds of people, and we need them to survive despite... Like, society will just take a lot longer to get good if only the swollest people are also our scientists. We need people that we keep alive despite their, you know, physical limitations. We need those guys, because some of them, they got some good ideas, and we want to use those.
It's a question, like, do we need them, like, in terms of, like, us as a species? Like,
well, let me tell you, my perspective is I want humanity to proceed as fast as possible to founding Starfleet, colonizing the universe, meeting aliens, doing all that fun shit.
Monkey, even in a recent episode of his Let's Play, literally said, the faster we get to Star Trek, the better. And I was like, oh my god, he's one of us. Me and Nate say that exact phrase all the time. Like, the faster we get to Starfleet, the better. But that's, you know, that's how we want it to go. And like, sure, I guess you could say that if we look at it as the Earth is going to die one day and humans are going to get off this planet, then maybe we really did need that as a survival instinct for our species to get good at smarts and get the fuck out of here. Like, maybe that was actually necessary, and we're going to do better than every other species on this godforsaken rock, you know? But like, notwithstanding the sun exploding, the ice caps melting, or comets come blown into us, we're definitely going to blow ourselves up. Okay,
definitely going to blow ourselves up.
Notwithstanding all that, if we were just a bunch of nomadic tribes, wouldn't we still be well off? I have lost track of how this
we would not,
to
and the answer is because if the strong were the ones in charge, we never would have had anime.
Yeah.
Oh my god, you're right.
There's
anime is entirely a culture of the weak.
It's all about how you...
I agree with everyone. We need the strong. We need the smart people like Stephen Hawking who are not strong but are smart enough to help us advance. We need all of those people. But my point is, none of those people are commenters.
No,
commenters are
not.
bad.
Well, all right. I mean, sometimes Stephen Hawking goes and comments on my Japanese animes.
Drones to fucking turn the wheels on all these fucking machines.
Who's gonna make the sandwiches? You know, like they said in Growing Pains.
The dog killing robots will make the sandwiches. They can have more than one function.
So basically, what we have to do is we have to get to a society where our robots are good enough that we can kill all the stupid people. Oh my god, this makes perfect sense. This is no, it works, right? If we get our technology good enough that we only need the smart people and we don't need anyone to pull the levers, then we can annihilate all those people, and then all the dumb shit will disappear, like all the religions and stuff. Like, that'll all just be gone, because we don't have dumb people anymore. This is...
Well, one thing I can say for sure is that this podcast has definitely convinced me to have less empathy going forward.
You know what? Okay, I think now's as good a time as any to talk about how yesterday all my empathy died all at once. And it has everything to do with our good friend Mumkey here.
Oh, no.
Yeah, that's right. Okay,
What did I do?
I'll be happy to tell you. So, yesterday, It was after work, and I had gone to the gym at work, which is this empty. I've never seen another person there. It's just this empty, shitty place with a couple of workout equipment things. And I like to listen to shit while I work out. And I saw that there was a live stream that Mumkey was doing. So I turn it on, and I'm listening to it. And Ben was there.
I know where this is going.
In the chat, a bunch of PCP guys were there. Digi had been there. Mumkey said hey to him. Ben was there. They were talking for a little bit. And I was there. I was posting. I was ready to experience the warm embrace of a friend, of a new friendship. And in fact, there was frequent mention of like, oh, look at all these PCP guys. Like, oh, it's so cool they're all here. Oh, Ben's here. Digi's here. Everyone important is here. Wow, what a great time we're having here. Meanwhile, I'm getting the fucking shaft. And by the way, I'm going to put up on screen. Go on, Ben. What?
The literal founder of the PCP,
right.
best guy ever, just shafted unceremoniously.
I captured screenshots of my vain attempts to reach out to form some kind of human connection, and I got nothing. I got fucking shafted, and people were in the chat saying like, "Dude, you should say hi to best guy ever. You should say hello." And I've got pictures to prove it. So I don't know what kind of conspiracy this was to just ruin my self-image and my self-worth, but it succeeded, Mumkey. You succeeded.
I was just distracted by the wonders of your yellow episode. I wanted to know what that was.
Oh, don't. No, you got too far.
No.
Delete it. End this podcast now.
For the record, Mumkey only looked at like 1 in every 100 messages of that chat.
And I
pretty
posted a billion messages. You'll see. They're on screen. They're going to be on screen. You're going to see them right now. I've got them.
You keep saying that, but I'm the one who has to edit this, and I probably won't do that.
We'll work something out. Maybe we'll put a folder with them in or something. I don't know. Anyway, that's why I hate you, Mumkey, and you're not cool. You're not.
Well, anyways, does anybody have parting thoughts on this? Mumkey, do you have any parting thoughts on this empathy topic? And
Oh, come back to me. I got to think about it.
Oh, okay. Ben, do you have any parting thoughts?
Oh fuck! On the topic of empathy, I've just been playing devil's advocate this whole time. Don't have any empathy for anyone. It's stupid.
Watch out, Ben. That's a dangerous road.
I was the devil. I played devil's advocate 3 times in rapid succession right before the show, so I've actually been the devil all along.
Like Bloody Mary, like you looked in the mirror.
Yeah.
Devil's advocate. Devil's advocate.
And then as he's looking in the mirror, slowly Elliot Rogers' face comes into focus in the mirror.
No. I went to the bathroom and I looked in the mirror and I was like, Mein Kampf had some good points to make. Maybe we should look into the relative IQs of the different races. And also shitty commenters are real cool and we should all make them. And bam! I just transformed. Yeah.
I could easily see you doing that, just playing devil's advocate.
Just look, Ben, looking intensely into the mirror, like, wow, commenters aren't so bad. They're actually kind of okay people. You're a monster, Ben. You're a monster.
I'm literally a monster
Jesse,
right now.
Do you have any parting thoughts?
I have no empathy for you, Ben.
Oh damn.
Yeah, kill them all.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
I don't know. I think I had something intelligent to say, like way back at the beginning, but I blew it. So fuck it.
Nate, you have any parting thoughts on empathy?
Oh, I think our philosophies align fairly well on this. You and me, Digi. I think empathy. I wish there was more. I think that we'd all do a lot better. I meme a lot, but really, I'm all about. What?
Like a politician coming on screen, like one of those commercials. The ass, like guys, America. I meme a lot, but if we can get serious,
I meme a lot. but the true meme is
Pokemon Go to the polls.
But all
Pokemon
memes
go to the
aside.
polls, folks. I want humanity to do well. I want as many people to be as happy as possible because that's my standard for the success of the human race. And I'm committed to it. That's my team I've chosen, so I think more empathy would be good for that, and I think we'd all be a little better, and all that shit. That's it.
Mumkey, parting thoughts?
Yeah, I'm actually glad Ben's brought up the idea of playing devil's advocate. 'Cause that's something I was thinking of before the show even started, was how empathy is an important tool for any argumentative approach. Because much like Ben and I think Nate and a lot of you guys, I like to play the devil's advocate. Most of the time when I'm arguing, it's not even for something I personally believe in. It's just for fun.
Yeah.
And I would like to think that I can argue in favor of any stance. And that's
Oh my God, it's Maddox. You're Maddox. Oh, it's
Sure.
the biggest debate in the universe.
But it's because of empathy. The ability to put yourself into the shoes of somebody else's position is what allows you to play devil's advocate. So for you guys
Very true.
for Ben to say I'm devil's advocate but I hate empathy, that doesn't make any fucking sense because you need it in order to play devil's advocate. So I think empathy in terms of politics, it's very important and there's not enough of it, and I think we could solve a lot of problems if we just thought about what the opponent was saying rather than just trying to put out our own position.
You know who is there?
But if you even acknowledge that your opponent, that there's any rationalization or any idea at all behind your opponent's position, it weakens yours. It
In
makes
the eyes
them
of
look
the
like they've
stupid
got a point
audience who
made.
doesn't understand
in
that.
the eyes of
right.
fucking morons.
If you have a strongly held position, it's not in your interest to play devil's advocate or acknowledge another.
Who'd have thought
really.
that the secret to empathy was to be the devil? Actually, it kind of makes sense because who was the
I've been saying that all along.
Who was the first one?
Jesse has been saying that all along.
All right, well,
on
who
his
was
channel.
the first one to hold a contrary position to God? Who but Lucifer? His first
right.
of the angels, right?
That's
The
true.
first to
Mumkey,
play
I
devil's
think-
advocate.
I think you just solved the problem with Maddox's show, The Biggest Debate in the Universe, which is that
Really?
he's trying to play devil's advocate against himself and play both sides of a conversation, but he lacks the empathy to do that.
It's
think
that
you're right.
autism, man. It's
Right.
that
Due-
demon
due to-
autism.
due to his
Yeah,
autism,
he's
yeah.
just he
That old
Yeah,
dragon
he seems to have
autism.
that dragon autism. Oh God, yeah. My parting thoughts, to go back to what Mumkey said at the very beginning, that I think the biggest reason that we're lacking empathy is that people confuse it for sympathy, and so many people think that by understanding someone you have to agree with them, and you don't. You can completely be like, I feel like I said earlier, you have to kill some people. You gotta break a few eggs to make an omelet, but at least you can feel like, understand that that's not a good thing, and that in an ideal society we wouldn't have
Right,
to do that.
right.
Like, if you empathized with everyone and just went like, look, I understand why Elliot Rodger did the things he did. Doesn't mean I have to excuse him. Even if I say, he couldn't help it, it wasn't his choice. Even if I say that doesn't mean that he's absolved and that we have to let him go. Because that's what people seem to think. Every time you're like, oh, he couldn't, he was put in that position. What was he supposed to do? It's like, oh, are you saying we shouldn't punish him? No, I'm not saying that. Kill the guy. He's clearly a problem for our society. But
Put him in nigger
people
jail.
aren't
Put him in nigger jail.
People aren't able to have nuance.
Nigger jail is just
enough.
jail, by the way. There's no difference between.
I mean,
That's right.
if you ask
only
me, if
people
you
in
ask
there.
me,
We literally made that exact joke twice.
It was funny
yeah, he
both
did.
I
he
wasn't
did.
paying attention.
I can attest to this. Okay, no, but if you ask me, the real monsters are the people that can't empathize with someone like Elliot Rodger. I think that if you can't read his autobiography and at least empathize with some of his feelings about feeling rejected, feeling like you've been dealt an unfair hand and feeling like there's no hope for you and how you wish things were different but they can't be, I think it's fucked up if you can't empathize
I can tie
with
this
that.
into my Gurren Lagann Part 2, where I talked about how the real villain is only people like Adine, who, despite reasonable arguments being presented, have a dogmatic view of things and are unwilling to change their stance because of it. That's the real evil,
Oh,
folks.
you ruined it. You made it anime.
I'm sorry.
Good thing
I'm
going
sorry.
here.
But yeah, that is
Alright.
one of the main points I was trying to make with my Elliot Rodger video was
And
that
you
the-
did it, dude. You
the
did
news
it.
correspondents, they didn't even read the autobiography. They just had their set-in-stone beliefs, and they were going to use this tragedy and take advantage of it to express their previously held opinions.
Yeah.
The news is fucking
Yeah.
disgusting.
And
No one
even
should
worse,
watch it. No
even
one should
worse
take
than
it
their own
seriously.
opinions, it's the opinions that they expect to jive with their viewers that they don't even hold necessarily themselves. That's
Playing
a real
devil's
problem
advocate.
I see. Yeah.
Yes. in an actually devilish evil context.
Yeah.
They're playing Devil's Autism. And that's the dangerous game that Elliot was playing, and he lost.
He lost me.
Oh no! Oh no!
All right, that's it for this show. Everybody say goodbye.
Wait!
Oh,
I want to
for
just give one.
fuck's sake,
I haven't been on a podcast in a
okay.
while, and I just want to let everyone know that I'm posting on my fucking personal YouTube channel. I'm taking a page out of Mumkey
yeah.
Here's book, and I'm doing a Nuzlocke series. And if you'd like to see that, please click on my little icon there and go check
in the
that out.
And
Okay,
check
I'm
out
sorry,
all of
I'm
Mumkey's
sorry.
channels. He's not only was a great guest on here, but he makes great videos.
hate you! You surpassed me in subscribers, you son of a bitch!
Yeah.
Cold
gonna get
Corona!
you!
Cold Corona!
Pay for the slight against me! I've been at work!
Yeah,
I've been
yeah,
working in
yeah.
the furnace room for months, crafting the ultimate
Holy
masterpiece, crafting videos, and I'm gonna take over YouTube and the PCP when
What a star-studded cast this is. Colt Corona showing up. Holy shit.
Sorry, Cold Corona. I just, when you mess with the bull, you get surpassed in subscribers. That's what happens.
When you mess with the mammo swine, you get the tusks. Know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Hey, guys, I just want to say
Yes.
thank you all for having me on here, and you're all super cool, and I hope I can come back someday.
Yeah, I hope so, Monkey. It was
I
great.
hope you come back too. It was great having you.
All right,
Monkey.
everybody say goodbye.
Bye.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm supposed to be working
Right now. Supposed to be working.